Oh, man. Everything sound good? Is it bouncing over there?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, it's going.
Well, we're late.
A little bit.
It's supposed to be the what we call this? New Year, New Us 4.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? This 4 years
I
since
know,
we
4
first
years
one?
in a row, pretty much.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a good time for you guys listening. We're still waiting on Steve Chamberlin. There is massive. What'd you say there was retarded?
I don't know what they were doing. They had I-35 shut down twice on the way up here. And luckily, I always have Google Maps, and I decided to ride today. Steve was banging out work yesterday, didn't want to swap the race tires off the bagger. And so he's like, I'll just take the van. He's got new wheels on the van. He's all
It looks
happy
good.
about it, you know, so.
You probably talk me into get some candy out of that van.
Yeah, but then, you know, I'm on the way out here. I run out of gas trying to make it to Buc-ee's. I got that new thundermax. It hasn't dialed in yet, so it's running super rich. I'm like, oh, well, it hits reserve, but I usually have another gallon. I can make it 30 miles, no problem. I think I was like 24 miles from Buc-ee's. Nope, I made it like 12 miles, pulled over on the highway. Some old man, like one of the original people, his family like settled Austin. They moved out here with the Flugers that started Pflugerville.
Yeah.
Like in 1840 something, like gave me a ride to the gas station. Dude could not go over 35 miles an hour. He was traveling from Austin to Dallas on all frontage roads. Didn't want to go faster than 35. Super cool, man. They like drove me to the gas station 2 miles up the road.
To get like a gas can and shit?
Yeah, just bought a gas can, a gallon of gas, put it in, gave him the gas can. I'm like, hey man, here's this. Tried to give him money. He wouldn't take any money, and then jumped back on the road. And,
It's that Southern hospitality, man.
yeah, I love
that's
it.
good.
That wouldn't have happened if we were in Arizona or California or anywhere, you know.
That is a biker. Absolutely not.
But
Nah, it's well, I'm glad you did. I know that you're going out of town Friday morning, tomorrow morning.
tomorrow morning.
And I'm, of course, I got this fucking bike that I got to get done that I got to go deliver to New York this weekend.
Yeah.
I had COVID this month.
Oh, yeah? How was that for you?
It wasn't that bad. At one day, it had me on my ass. I couldn't move.
See, I had it, and I guess I didn't realize I had it. I got sick last year.
Yeah.
For about 3 days.
You one of those dudes that had it in 2019?
No. This is 2021, but like I got sick for 3 days. I didn't feel good, but I never had any like upper lung anything.
Yeah.
Like I
didn't have any of that either.
I felt like run down. I had body aches, and I was sweating and a fever. And that was it. I had it for 3 days. I stayed home for 4 because I was like, I'm not going to go back. I'm going to take one more day just to make sure it's all gone. Went back to work. Nothing fine. The kid was with me the whole time. She was like waiting on me while I'm sick. Like I couldn't get out of bed for a couple of those days.
Yeah.
She's like bringing me drinks and stuff like that. I had no clue. And then when my ex was visiting, her and my kid both got COVID. Okay. And I was like, well, crap, this is going to suck. Like, I'm going to catch it. We're going to have to shut the shop down for a couple weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
Keep testing myself every day, and I'm not getting it.
It's not.
I'm sitting there. I mean, I'm in bed with one of them. I'm snuggling the other one. Like, there's no way that I shouldn't have caught COVID. And then finally I go get the antibody test, and I was like, oh, yeah, you got, like, really strong antibodies. I'm like, sweet.
I don't, man. I went, my son was, I get my son this weekend. So the last time I had him, we went to go get some jackets and stuff for when we go to New York and everything. I wanted to get him something warm to be able to walk around in.
Yeah.
And, man, by the end of the day, like I was starting to kind of feel like I don't get sick hardly ever, but when I do, like my body, everything's really sensitive. Like my skin's very sensitive to temperature and touch and all that shit. And so that Saturday night, man, I was like, man, I don't feel right. Something's off. And then the next morning on Sunday, like I was one of those days where I just stayed in bed all day. Like I couldn't get up.
Yeah.
I think I even shit myself a little bit one day.
It happens sometimes.
Yeah, I just like
you know?
thought it was a fart. It was a little juicy, and I just went back to sleep.
I'll get it in the shower next time I get in there.
And then, but yeah, it was one of those days like I just couldn't get out of bed, man. And I stayed in bed all day, fell asleep early, and I woke up about 4 a.m. And what happens when I would get up to go pee or some shit like that or get a drink, I'd be real dizzy and shit. I couldn't really see much of anything, all that stuff. Well, in 4 a.m. when I woke up to go pee and get something to drink, I was like, oh shit, I'm back. So come Monday, I was back at work. Everything was kind of back to normal. I was still a little weak.
Yeah.
I haven't been to bike night in a couple weeks. I just didn't want to chance it going up there and whatnot. Went to the TT Vets deal last Saturday. which I wasn't gonna go to that either, just because I was trying not to go be out in the
I was
cold.
trying to figure out a way to come to that, but I had so much work to get done, knowing I was going to be gone
Yeah,
all week. Friday to Sunday this week. I was like, I just can't.
yeah, exactly. It was cool. It was a good. What'd you
Yeah,
think?
I met that
turnout.
Joe. I met that Joe guy down at the V Twin Visionary thing. Super nice guy. He's from the Phoenix area, so like I think I was wearing this hat. He's like, "Oh, you know Ramjet?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know Tony. Like Daddy-O used to have us over for Thanksgiving every year when I lived out there. Like I know them very well." He's like, "Oh, my buddy Cruzy lives out there," and I go, "I know Cruzy really well too. Like I literally carried him up 3 flights of stairs with his nutsack splayed open, and he got into a motorcycle accident. We used to live in the same house basically." And
Yeah,
he was a super nice guy though. Joe was a great guy.
yeah. He's doing what they're doing out here is pretty cool.
Yeah, I dig it a lot. I mean, it's something that it's filling a void that's not there that we kind of got because we were all in school.
Yeah,
in MMI, like there was a little bit of that sort of team building or whatever camaraderie. Like, hey, just everybody come and we'll figure it out type shit. But that's not like the normal, I don't think. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's just good to have more opportunities to do things in Texas. I mean, we've had the Dyna Crew stuff with DFW and then Houston Dyna Crew, and that shit's been going strong. And then the TT Vets deal has been they brought the V-Twin Visionary shit here to the North Texas, and then, Tommy from House of Harley helped facilitate the thing at Central Harley Davidson when they came out.
Yep.
And I've been pretty hard on the Austinites lately, last year or so, about them not having much of a scene. But
we don't have any
since you live there, how is the vibe in Austin?
I don't do anything in Austin. If I'm on a bike, I go somewhere else. There's every once in a while we'll have like a group. I finally met up with like a few guys that like seem like they want to ride every once in a while, and so like we won't go. The problem is a lot of people are parents too that are in Austin.
Yeah.
And so like it's like, oh, we got a couple hours. We'll just blast down to South Austin, go to have a couple beers, and bounce around from bar to bar to bar or whatever, and then come back.
Yeah, I hear that. What I really want to do, which would be nice, is since Giddy Up's gone, we just need to go down there and spend the weekend just camping.
The thing I want to do is host like at least a day ride or something like from the shop. Let's go out 1431, cut down 281, cut across. There's a couple small little cities through some back roads.
Here he is.
There he is. And then like coming through the north side of Fredericksburg, and then like have like a late lunch in Fredericksburg. They got all the beer gardens, all the German food out there, and everything like that, and like have a great day. I mean, it's like a 350, 400 mile loop or whatever. But you tell a lot of people, hey, let's do a day ride for 350, 400 miles, and they're like, oh. It's like, what are you talking about?
Are we going to go to Starbucks?
Yeah. How many Starbucks are we going to pass? We're going to stop every 50 miles, right?
Yeah, it's one of those deals, man. Yeah. So how was your trip up here?
Fine. Just fine. No, I just took the van because my bike's still in like race bike mode. And then like I feel all right riding around town, but just a couple hundred miles, and I still have the race tires on it. And
those are expensive tires too, so you don't really need to wear them out more than it needs to happen.
It's not even that they're expensive; it's they're hard to find right now.
Right.
Damn, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Well, I messed up before that race, so I switched to a Pirelli tire, Pirelli Supercourse V3. And I was talking to Tony Shreds, and he's like, "Get this one." And he sent me a link to a company, CT Racing, out of California. And then they're like, "Well, we don't ship to Texas. It's kind of out of our thing." And then I checked on Drag, and they didn't have them. So I ordered them through someone else. And then apparently they have 2 different compounds for that same tire. One of them is called an SP, which is a street compound, and one of them is an SC, which is a race compound. And then I was running the street compound on the track for that race.
Yeah, I saw you get squirrely in a couple of those
I had a brake loose on me. Like, I had the front lock up on me once, hard braking into a corner, and I had the rear step out on me twice, exiting a corner. So, like, I just didn't trust those tires during that race.
Yeah, I could see that. Shit, I guess now that Steve's here, we can actually start the actual deal. I guess this is the actual podcast.
What are we talking about? What I miss?
No, we were just shooting the shit.
Okay.
Talking about there's nothing going on in Austin.
Yeah. We're terrible hosts.
Yeah. We work. If we're at home, we work. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Like literally, I'll get to work earlier than him because I got to drop the kid off at school. He rolls in like an hour after I do. I get there 7:30. He's like 8:39. He rolls in. we work all day. I leave at 5. He leaves at 8. You know, and like that's all we do all day is just sit in the shop and work.
That's what it's been like here too
that's
the
it,
last
you
couple
know.
Like
weeks.
ever since I got back from BRL, you know, I don't know, I had like a little Black Friday sale with the
Yeah.
side covers, so I've just been trying to catch up on that. I've made it to like mid-November orders, and then like,
Damn,
I'm like,
that's
yeah.
good though, man. That's
Yeah.
really it's really awesome that's actually been, you know, after what you started at like the beginning of last year, right?
It was like just under 2 years ago. It was
That's
like
right.
right before we went to the drag MVP show. And then it's like when I launched the website, and like I was like, all right, full bore, you know, tried with that. So
That's awesome. Man.
RIP MVP show this weekend. That's where
Yeah.
they're supposed to go this weekend.
that drag specialties.
Do you think they shut it down because of COVID type
Yeah.
stuff?
Yeah, they were gonna like require like testing and vaccination cards and all this stuff at the
Got
convention
that hookup,
center.
bro.
Yeah. But it's like
All the vendors were like, "Nope, we don't want to come. Like, if we got to wear masks the whole time and get tested daily, like, we don't want to do it." And so
Yeah.
they shut it down.
Well, they already said this new one's herd immunity type situation is the best antidote. So, but yeah, I had to get me a vaccine so I can go to New York and be able to go places.
right. That was so on that one BRL trip that I did, because I went from Austin, then I went all the way up to HPI, had the bike tuned, and then went to the House of Harley party.
Yeah.
And then went all the way out to Cali, and I was like, all right, as soon as I crossed the Cali line, like, you know, it's going to be masks everywhere. First gas station I stopped to, like, guy didn't have a mask on that was like working the place. I was like, all right,
Yeah.
maybe it's a little different, but, you know, a bunch of other ones I did.
It's when you get close to the cities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the, especially NorCal is way more, it's way more country up there than anything, to be honest with you.
Anywhere outside of like Oakland,
Oakland,
San Francisco.
yeah.
area.
There's like there's a little mountain range that kind of surrounds that San Jose, the whole Bay Area, basically. And every time you jump over one of those mountain ranges, it gets more
redneck.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because TPJ, he
Yeah.
hit me up. I've never met him before. You know, I've always talked to him on Instagram, and he's like, "Oh, I'm right in Reno." Like,
Yeah.
He's like, "Stop by on your way through," and I said, "Screw it, I'll stop by." And we were going to try to build like a chain tensioner for my bike, so I unloaded the bike at his house and that, but then we just didn't really have the parts to, you know, make what I wanted to happen. You know, because
Yeah.
I was on such last minute with everything, but ended up going through like he's like right by Lake Tahoe. Took like the back way because I was like,
yeah.
Oh, dude, it was
we
so
stayed at
dope.
his house that year we rode on that trip. So, but yeah, you from his house, you take a left out of his neighborhood and it goes right up to Mountain Rose.
Yeah.
And did you go ride it at all or check it out?
I just took the van through it, you know, just whatever. But so I made it through. I was like, all right, you know, I think loaded the bike back up at like 3:00 at his house, and I was like, I'll just make it like close to the track. The track opens the next day, and then there was a crazy like snowstorm that like everybody, you know, because Tucker Speed was coming that Thursday, and I left his house on Wednesday, and there was like a big snowstorm, like tire chains required.
To cross over the Yosemite?
And then like Motor Witch, you know, he stayed at TPJ's that night, and then he had his truck and a 40-foot trailer, and they're like, you know, you got to chain up or whatever. Then finally he's like, screw it, because he got turned around 3 times and just like blew past the people, and he's like, I'm fine. I have 4-wheel drive and you know that, but.
Yeah, I think if you take the route from Reno through, it's a lot flatter than doing the South Lake Tahoe over.
Yeah, well, I fucked up. I did South Lake Tahoe. Instead of like keeping
It's beautiful though.
keeping on that 80. I was like, oh, I think you got nowhere to go. I was like, I've never seen Lake Tahoe. I've always like
Yeah, it's
dreamt
bad,
about seeing
especially
it.
that little rip around the
Yeah,
lake.
it's like once you come up, then it just opens up, and I was like, that's gorgeous.
It's fucking beautiful there.
Yeah, all those roads like right there. I wish I was like on the bike, but
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those places like I could ride up there every year and like clockwork, you know, just like the camp out every year. I could do that every year, you know, and I plan on it. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it this year. But so last year, you know, we've been doing this podcast for 4 years now, this New Year, New Us. And I don't even remember what we usually talk about, but I'm pretty sure it's a little bit about what this past year was and what we are going to hope maybe become accountable for what we're going to do this year.
I don't think we ever like re-listened to them a year later just to see if like, oh, did that come
Oh,
true?
I changed.
Nope, let's not. Let's
'Cause,
not.
like,
'Cause
yeah.
usually it's way off.
Yeah, like you were talking before, just it hurts to listen to yourself afterwards
Yeah,
on these
yeah.
things sometimes.
It's terrible.
I'm worried all the time especially lately. I've been going a little too hard on these podcasts with opinions. But yeah, I don't know. I felt like last year was coming off 2020. I know for myself, and I know you did some massive trips in 2020. I think 2020 was my biggest year on the road as well. This year started off super strong, but for me, it just kind of, like my enthusiasm, like a lot of my energy, all that shit kind of died off after Sturgis, and I've been kind of trying to scrounge it back, to be honest with you. But one thing I was thinking about earlier is like, I doubted that you were going to make each race that you went to. In my head, I'm like, because when you came by and did that one podcast in May, you were like, I'm going to be at BRL. And I'm like, how the fuck are you going to get your license?
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no fucking way. And then
I was in the shop every day. He's like,
Aren't you
I'm
gonna
doing
get a
BRL.
license?
And I'm like, man, there's only a certain number of weekends, and you got to do like some races and like some schools to get your license before you go. And he's like, I'll figure it out. And then like the day before, they're like, we're going to have a school. I'm like, oh my God.
It's like, he's the epitome of the guy that just like, I'll let the universe figure it
exactly. He goes, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
And then I doubted you even more whenever the motor was blown up and you were trying to build the bike to actually do what you just said to do, go to HPI, then the House of Harley and all that shit. I was like, how the fuck is he going to do that?
Yeah,
Lots of Jello shots.
Yeah, because blew it up when we went out to the Smoky Mountain V-Twin tour. It was like right when I rolled into town.
Yeah.
That was like 30 miles before. I was like, it just kind of started having like a weird knock on the highway, but I'm riding with everybody. And I rolled on it once hard, and I'm like, the power's there. Like, the power didn't feel like it was less.
Gone, yeah.
And then ended up making a Dream Rides John. I'm like, give me a second here. Like, I think it's messed up. Needs a full teardown. And then I started up. He's like, shut it down. He's like, I don't know, maybe something in the heads. And then we finally get it back. Like, Jetty ended up towing out there, so he towed my bike back. And then, one night we finally tore it down in the shop, and it spun the races on the crank. So it was like, crank issue. It was still a stock crank. I just straightened and welded. And then but you know how like back orders and all that shit's been going on. So it was like trying to come up with a motor combo, something I can afford. Like, like there was people like, oh, I have a 131 crate, you can throw it in it and take it back out. And I'm like, well, if I blow it up, like, I don't want to, two motors. You know what I mean? Like, now I got to rebuild mine. I was like, all right, I'll try to figure it out. But ended up having some people like, reach out and help out, like House of Harley. Yeah. They got me some heads and a cam plate. And then Space Coast Speedworks, they had a S&S 4 3/8 stroke crank. Jimmy HPI had I was just going to get some pistons through them, and, then that new exhaust for running the mids. Everything, and like as I talked to him, that exhaust for the mids like way before, and then they end up hooked me up with that. But I paid for the stuff. So
yeah, man. Like I said, I definitely doubted you. I won't deny that. But I tell you what, man, watching you race that last race and seeing you like really contending, you know what I mean. That shit was like proud dad moment. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude. We were like sitting there yelling at the TV. I was like, he could easily have been on the fucking podium if there was like just a couple little things. Like
tires.
Fucking
I think he could have passed homeboy.
Because honestly, because I went out there with a whole new setup. I had another 20 horsepower that I did before, because I did 143, 146 on power with this new motor that we just quick threw together. I went up another inch in the rear. I went to mids. I did my little seat lift, and like a couple other like just little things. Yeah. And then I changed
home remedies is basically what you did.
Yeah. Like I'm just like trying to figure it out myself. I went out there as like a one-man show. Like,
that was literally the first time you rode the bike. Was like the first practice day out there, right?
Yeah, like I got it tuned to HPI. I didn't ride it all around here. I did 3 heat cycles. I threw it in the van. I said, let's go to HPI and have it tuned. And then got it done there. I ripped it 2 times down the road there. And then I went to House of Harley party, and then I was like, I didn't want to dyno it on the race wheels and tires and square them up, so I swapped the wheels and tires in their basement, kind of put it on the show for the industry party, and then I ripped it down the road twice there, but it was like 35 degrees out, but it was like first gear, hammer it, wheelie, hit second gear, hammer it, wheelie, and I was like, all right, this is going to be a party. Then once we got up to Sonoma, it was just super cold, so I made it out on the first like practice session, but like not everybody else was ready. So I got a nice like maybe 50% just let's scope the track out, because I didn't look at any photos, or I looked at one aerial shot of Sonoma before I went there. People were like, I've been watching videos. And
how was that track compared to the first BRL?
both tracks are sick in their own right. Sonoma has a lot of elevation change, and you have to have like coming off the front straightaway, like, I don't know, turns, whatever, like turn 2 or something like that. You're basically coming up over a hill into a right-hander. So you're top of 4th, drop it down to 2nd, almost commit to the turn if you want to hit
before
the
you
apex.
see it.
Oh yeah, it's so sick. Like, and then you see that video like where Tony Tucker Speed like crashed, like that one, like right where he crashed, you're coming up over a hill and the hill drops out and it's just a long left-hander. You know, you could cut it really far in. I found my line was just hitting it in the middle, and I can just carry more speed. So there'd be like people that'd be cutting it hard in the inside. I'd be like, I'll hit it in the middle, and I'll just, by the time we exit this, I'm already, 5 mile an hour faster than you. And then the chicanes on the backside, like there was one really tight chicane. I don't think anybody was really
watched
nailing
them
it.
all. Every single person would come through that chicane. Everybody's suspension unloaded, and their bike just went right through this fucking little section. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, because then like that performance machine bike that I was running down, like I was out breaking him, like I'd catch him but then he was so little, that bike had some power, and it's probably a lot lighter than mine.
I'm pretty naive in this. I don't understand why the class that you were in had, first off, the guy what's his name? Benny Carlson. Why is he still racing in that class and
anymore.
The other one?
Yeah.
He's not. He didn't make that decision to race in that class. I think they'd said that because his license lapsed, he wasn't allowed.
Yeah, I know why he was in the first one, but
then they they started doing the points.
Yeah, they started doing the points, and they wanted people to win the points championship, and so they didn't want to like completely fuck the dude over.
So why was the performance machine bike? Because that was kind of
that one was in my class in Utah too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that one was in the King of the Baggers, but I don't think it was the same rider.
Yeah, it's more about the rider than the bike. Like, granted, it's got PM and it's got a ton of money.
Because I know that Willie Pig had an issue with Tony Tucker's bike because it was so built, if you will.
Right.
But I feel like it is the rider, right? And whatever you can build, right? Yeah. That's the way it should be. Yeah. But obviously, there's a big difference between the Benny Carlson get and everybody else.
Well, that was more like a fluke. That was like a random. It was like, his license lapsed, and so the rules at the time of the first race was if you didn't have this license, you couldn't race in the Bagger GP, and so it was more just a fluke accident.
What was the times difference between the Bagger GP and like say some of the laps you ran?
It was like 12.
I thought. Well, I ran a faster time than Tony Shreds on his Bagger GP bike, so that but I think the fastest I ran was like 159. And I think the Bagger GPs were like, they got down like during the race to like the 148s.
Yeah. So what do you think is the difference? Is it all rider, or do you think there's some other things you can do?
Well, they don't have a radio. I still had a radio on my bike, so.
You think it's like a weight situation?
But like, weight, their bikes are set up, pretty dang good.
Even still, most of them, like, there's a couple of them that look like they've got some things to help them get a little more lean angle out of it. I think a lot of it is just rider and being comfortable on it.
I think I got
and weight. Weight's a big part of it, because like that was the only reason that he didn't pass that guy on the PM bike. I think because he'd catch up to him every time there's twisties, he's right on his ass, and then as soon as the straightaway hits, the dude pulls away because he's a fucking bike jockey and he weighs 100 pounds. He's not a real man.
And like, I don't know. That was
drink a beer, bitch. Shotgun a beer first.
That was my third time ever on a track. Utah was my first time. I did one track day at Crescent around here. Yeah. And then, that was the third time I've ever been on the track. So
dude, as soon as he starts getting comfortable like passing people and like learning where to time passes and like, just like little things. Like he said, like what was the dude with all the stuff that went off the track? Arnie. He said like when Arnie went off the track, he goes instantly. Like, in my head, I wanted to stop, just like you would if you were on a ride with a bunch of your buddies and you see a buddy go off the track. And, like, that half a second of, like, should I stop? No, oh, shit, we're racing. Like, once he gets out of that mindset, he's got way more experience than anybody else that's on that track, for the most part, racing and pushing Harleys hard. Yeah. He's just got to get in the mindset of racing. And like,
well, like I said, that second race, man, like, it really, the changes you made from the first race were all things that you figured out were the limitations of your bike, right? You change those, and then you're fucking running in the front of the pack. And I'm that, to me, watching that progression is what's making this shit interesting to me. I could give two fucks less about half of the things on there because I care about Tony Shreds because I know him. I care about Tony. I care about all these guys that I know are individual guys that were a part of this culture before this thing popped off.
Right.
Is it fun to see like the Indian and the Harley go at it at the top tier thing? Yeah. Am I following it? No, absolutely not. It's dope to see. Like I feel like I caught the whole thing at the video recap that Harley just dropped yesterday. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I love seeing it, but
it's way more fun to watch. Like if you're watching it from race to race and seeing the progression of all the riders, and it's nice because we have like one guy that we're like, you know, a couple guys. These are our buddies, and so we can see what their times were before. We're watching for them. They did a little bit of a better job too on the video coverage, but the coverage on them is still just garbage at those events.
I don't think it really helped because the race day was supposed to be Sunday, but then Sunday was going to be a crazy rain, so it was like I don't think they were all prepared.
And I'm not blaming them, but it's just like the coverage at both events has been just not well. You know, they're not showing what's going on. They would cut to cameras and there'd be no one in view for 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden they'd come around the turn like, why are we doing this?
Well, also I think that they might have did a better job. I mean, you got a lot of, they talked about you a lot on that video.
Yeah, no, they gave a lot of love to more people than just the couple of people they gave love to the first time.
You know, so cool. You could tell they were trying to make their superstars. Yeah. You know, they were trying to make their superstars out of Ben Bostrom and these legendary racers from, you know, the sport bike world and stuff like that. But not interested. You know what I mean? You know, these, like I said,
the draws aren't gonna be those guys because most people that are watching are not from the sport bike world, and so they don't care. Like, nothing against them if they're fast and they're great riders, that's fantastic. Yeah. But like, how many times has Ben Bostrom rode a Harley across the country?
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Like, okay, cool, you're faster. You do this professionally. This guy's got 70,000 miles on the bike that he rode in there. Yeah. And most of that is across the country to go to events and do a bunch of drinking. You know what I mean? Like, cool. You're faster on the track. Great.
Yeah, because like,
oh, wow, you're in shape.
Yeah. You weigh 110 pounds and you're 5'2". Cool
like, the way I look at it and the way I've said it, like, I'm in it for now. I'm not going to be a guy that's contender for like years on end because it's just going to turn into a money game. Who builds a bad bike and then gets a jockey rider, you know, type person and everything. Like,
you've got a limited time where you could be relevant in it, you know what I mean?
And to me, the cool part is like, I'm the dude that like put the bike together, you know, me and Mark, you know, he helped me out. And then it's like, I'm the guy that, you know, went and got it all the way there, and I pit crewed for myself. Like, I had a random dude, David, that like lived around there, and he's like, "Hey man, you need help?" I was like, if you want a pit crew, I was like, I'll give you like my pass because that you know, Bagger Killer, like, he was gonna come help me out, and then he got in this accident like the week before. So it's like, I don't really have anybody to pit crew, you know. It's like I could do it, you know, but it's like have just an extra set of hands. Like, I went out there by myself, like in a van, like. Nobody, no help, my own tools, but I was pretty proud of him. I had to like wrench on the bike the whole weekend.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, like everybody that finished in front of him, I don't think owned the bike that they were on.
I think that Willie Pig owns that bike.
Yeah, maybe, but he's also he works at a dealership.
I'm very impressed by him. I really am. Like his.
Oh, dude, he's a beast on the track.
Yeah, of course.
You know, because I had in like
not that
practice,
my being impressed matters.
I had in practice, and like my goal going out there, I was like, I just want to beat Wheelie Pig. I was like, you know, just like if you're gonna have like I was like, I just want to beat him. And then it was like I went out like, I don't know, I think we were in like the third practice of the first day, and the dude, motherfucker, come blowing by me, and I was like, all right, try to keep up, and started following his lines and everything, and he just. Little way. I'm like, damn, what am I doing wrong?
Well, that dude's been racing since.
Oh yeah,
he was. And he's a guy that actually rides Harleys though. Like that's the other. I think that's a benefit. Is like if you've never rode a big heavy, even the light race bikes are still big and heavy compared to the bikes that they're running and all the other stuff. You know what I mean? And so it's like I think that he's got more experience riding a Harley and understands that like sometimes you're gonna get a wobble and a wiggle and like you just got to understand how to go with it and you got to. You know, they understand the things that you have to do because it's not the same as riding a sport bike.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Well, like I said, it was a fun year in that respects watching that progression and still seeing you smash the Sturgis, smash the Smokies. You had did another Smokies run before that though, right?
Yeah, I did like a Smokies run for like Dream Rights job.
Yeah.
Like opening party. I did that. FASTLIFE camp out. I don't know. I feel like there
You
was
rode to Daytona, but you did it on a different bike.
Yeah, I rode Daytona on the 03, which the 03, like I literally finished it like an hour before I left.
Yeah. Like I said, I felt
on
like
the dyno right before he's like packing up, and I'm still on the dyno trying to tune this thing. I'm like, man, are we sure you can't like leave a little later so we can dial this tune in just a little bit more?
yeah. I mean, like it was a great year. I mean, 2021, a lot of great progression for yourself. I made some good things happen for me too. You know what I'm saying? So it was a great year for me. And
products, just people's products coming out, just all over the board, just seeing like, what Arlen Ness, they have like those new like method lowers, like just cool stuff that's coming towards the bagger, like performance bagger type of thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of why like I think that when the video dropped yesterday and I was watching it yesterday, I was like thinking to myself like, I got to do a podcast with somebody about this, right? Because part of me is proud of these bikes that Harley just released, because I remember the day that we first started doing this podcast when you were one of the first guys to jump on a lowrider and dial it in on the new Softail platform. And so you've had a ton of experience working on the bike, riding the bike cross country, all that type of shit. Obviously, the performance bagger stuff that you've been a part of for the last 5 years now, 4 years.
Yeah.
Same as me. It's like everything that we were doing then is now it's now being done by the motor company. Mm-hmm. And all the shit that we talked about early on in the podcast about brands coming along and the industry accepting the performance motorcycles, all these things have taken place, and now it's all coming into, what's the word, fruition or fruition, how do you fucking say that? And it's kind of, it's surreal a little bit, and it feels a little wild to see.
It's like the stuff that like they're actually listening, and they're actually listening and seeing like what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to sound like big headed or anything, but it's like, I looked at that new ST and I looked at how the front fender is, and I was like, that front fender looks really close to like how I cut it on the 03, because I took a Clockworks fender and I had it all on my YouTube, and I like chopped it down and got a little bit sleeker look and had reasoning behind it. And then they come out with the ST, and I looked at the front fender and I'm like, they kind of went with that same little style that I had on that. So did somebody, watch one of my YouTube videos on that? Or
wherever they got it from, it shows that they're at least paying attention to what's going on and what's popular. Because, I mean, forever, how long did Harley, like, they released that rocker in 09? Like, a year after the fucking big wheel or the fat tire chopper shit, like, died. You know, they're like, oh, cool, we're going to come to this party too. And everybody's like, cool, nerd, party's over. You know what I mean? And at least now they're showing up, like, on time, a couple years late, but it's like, it also they have time that they have into developing things and making sure that if the bike wrecks, it's not gonna like the fairing's not gonna take somebody's head off or whatever the fuck. Like they got development time and
then like you guys talking way back in the day, like lowrider, you're like they did one thing right here and one thing right here and one thing right here. Then they came out with the lowrider
100%. I mean, that's exactly what the ST is. It's like I remember us talking about that. We're like, if they took the dual disc from this, and then we put the bags out of from this, and maybe another fairing. That's exactly what they did.
They came out with it.
The bike looks sick. Like obviously, none of us have fucking rode it. Nobody knows what it's like. No one knows if the fairing does shit or if it's just all aesthetic.
I was telling Matt, man, I fucking love that bike.
I think it looks amazing. Yeah, I would love to sell my bike and pick one up and start messing with it.
I like,
you know what I mean?
I like how they did that Rockford Fosgate like add-on audio system. Like they already thought ahead. They're like, all right, some people might want to do it, and they're just like, we're gonna make it so it just fits in there seamlessly. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a well-designed fairing. I think
it is.
I've said it on this podcast. I said when they came out with the last fairing, right? I remember saying that it would be dope if they did a newer style version of the RT fairing. Yeah. With their new kind of angles and fitting the newer style bikes.
Everybody's like, oh, it's not an FXR fairing. And it goes, okay, well, let's say they redesigned an FXR perfectly. Then all the FXR guys are going to be like, well, it's not a real FXR because it's got a Milwaukee 8. Like,
the great thing about this
is they took the styling cues and they fucking made it, like, new and modern.
It says it right here on the website for the thing. It says, what did it say? This bike is FXRT devotees who want the latest riding enhancements.
Yeah, the bike looks great.
30 years after they
It's the funny thing to me is everybody's now just noticing that those fucking bags are different length from side to side.
Yeah,
like those
I
bags have been a
commented on
different
that.
length for fucking the entire time they've been out, and nobody fucking noticed it ever until now. It seems like.
Yeah, it's just weird, man.
Someone said that like yesterday or something, and I was like, "That's what the Sport Glide."
Yeah,
was. That was like the first.
That
thing we
was
saw.
that, and the cost were the two reasons I didn't do it on my bike. I was like, okay, it's $3,000 for the fucking bags,
Yeah.
unpainted.
Yeah.
and then on top of that, one's like
Yeah.
longer than the other. If they
If they're running a
leveled
full
those out-
length exhaust, it's not as noticeable. But if
Well,
you
but
do
even
anything short, it's
it's only if you're running a full length with two mufflers.
Yeah,
Like if
the
you do a single one, then you're gonna have a 6-inch gap between.
then you can
that,
have
so-
like a kick up muffler and it'll kind of.
And then it'll
Well,
fuck
don't
all your
kick
paint
it up
up
as
and
hard
melt.
as Chance did.
Yeah, Chance he had he burnt the fucking bag.
But that, yeah.
Yeah, but that, I mean, it's badass. I mean,
Yeah, it's cool seeing all this like come together. You know,
It's cool that they're
it's all
listening.
stuff that we've talked about for the past 4 years, like
Yeah.
on this podcast, and then it's like, you know, as of like yesterday, finally released. It's like, you know, a little bit of here, a little there. Like running Olin suspension. I know that got released like midsummer, but
Yeah.
you know, Harley having their Olin suspension, like all this stuff is just coming together, like with what we've been, you know.
And everyone's
using.
trying to say, oh, well, now it's not cool because the factory's doing it or whatever. Listen, fuck off. Like a rising tide floats all ships. Like them doing it is now going to elevate the level that the aftermarket can do it to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like now, okay, we can get this from Harley. Now the aftermarket has to take it that next step farther, and it's just going to push all these aftermarket brands to make better stuff.
Yeah, you know, it turns up production when production gets turned up, and then prices get cheaper. You know, like you make
That was another
you
thing
make-
they nailed was price. Because I 100%. Steve asked, he goes, "How much do you think that bike is?" I was like, "I don't know, 25 to 30K." And he's like, "Nah, man, it's like 22." I was like, "That's like
Yeah.
a decent price."
The price point is a really
I
good thing.
100% expected them to be like way overshoot what a normal person would
What
want
is
to pay.
what is Pan America again?
18?
18 or 19, yeah.
It's
They're
not that
starting,
bad.
the
Yeah, 'cause,
prices
like-
are starting to get better. I feel like
Right.
at least more what I feel like the bikes are worth. You know.
Well, you know, everything's getting made in China, like the Olins and stuff. No, but it's awesome to see this stuff happening, man. I'm really stoked about these bikes. I'm stoked that Harley's kind of, you know, the fairing is the new thing. They did change the gauge location. That was another thing that's
Yep.
been an annoying thing about lowriders in general forever.
100%.
Is having the gauges on the dash. I don't really know why they didn't go with the gauge on the ST model though. That was a strange thing. And they just have like that Fat Bob style gauge.
No, I
And-
think it's a single gauge. I think that one was just for the pictures.
no, the ST model doesn't have a gauge. It's just in the handlebar.
Yeah, just that digital.
They
Oh,
put
probably
that-
if they put in a radio, the little arms can't reach past the gauge and like touch stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like the digital tack.
Yeah.
I don't
'Cause,
like
those gauges are clean. Like from a standpoint of looking at the bike,
Yeah.
it makes it look clean.
Yeah, on the
But-
Lowrider S, it has a gauge, but the Lowrider ST does not have a gauge.
Yeah, but it has the old street bob
Yeah,
gauge,
yeah.
and that gauge makes the bike look clean because it looks like there's not a gauge and it's just
Yeah.
very small.
I dig
but-
it still, but you know,
I don't like the digital tack.
I hate digital
thing.
gauges.
yeah.
You
Like
know?
that's like one thing. Like gauges, I like my needles. You know, because like when you're ripping,
Give me needles.
I can do a digital speedo,
Yeah.
like a number readout on speedo, but I want an analog tack.
yeah,
100%.
You know, because it's like I want to glance down. I know, like, you know, straight up, I'm at like 3,500 RPM or whatever
Yeah,
it is,
yeah.
and then you know, like I can just like barely drop my eyes, and I'm like, I just know where I'm at with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm running into a 40-mile-an-hour corner. I look down. I'm like, all right, I'm doing 90. All right, slow it down just a little bit.
I also it's been I haven't really paid attention to it, but every once in a while, like another comment would come in on my leaked photo that I put out back in September of the lowrider. The amount of people that got butthurt about that was insane. And then the people that worked at Harley dealerships that would go onto that post and be like, "How do you know this?" You know what I mean? Like, and that's the way they typed it. That's how I read it. You know, how do you know this?
So, like, the way I look at that, so it's like, all right, you had a little leak. And then probably with that video yesterday, there was probably so many people that tuned in because it wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, did you watch it?
I did them a
like
fucking
that
favor.
afterwards?
I
They're
want
like,
a
no,
bike.
dude. Like, we think they're gonna drop this. We want to see what they have to say about it. So it's like a little bit of leaking. Like it doesn't.
I don't think
but
I don't
that's
think
what
people
phone
understand
companies do.
how important leaking is.
That's
You know
what
what I'm
every
saying?
phone, every
you're
phone that
creating
comes
hype.
out now, they
Yeah.
have a little bit of a
Creating hype
leak
for a couple
before.
months.
You're not leaking everything. You're not giving all your secrets, but you're like, hey guys, like, oops, this accidentally leaked out into the public.
All
You
those
know what I
fucking
mean?
YouTubers need to say thank you.
Yeah.
Because that's all that popped up. Like, it took a week after I posted that picture, because I was the only one to post a picture.
Yep.
There was no other picture out there of that bike. Me and maybe a few other friends had it, but I had been selling that picture for like 6 or 8 months before I fucking posted it, right? And everybody starts posting like their little video, like, this is rumors and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, all the clickbait shit people do on YouTube, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, of course, on Monday, more leaked photos, because that's when the dealers got they got to see the videos and shit like that, so they'll know what's coming out. And of course, everybody's sending me the pictures of all that shit before, and I've leaked some more of that shit.
Right.
But everybody did at that point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I feel like that's just gonna go towards the success of it.
Exactly.
And like, you can get all mad about it and be like, "Oh, keep secrets." Like, sometimes I keep secrets on some things, but sometimes you just be like, little here, little there. It was like BRL, like, that I was doing like the lift seat on it and everything. I was like, I'm not gonna show it. I'm just
Oh
gonna
yeah,
show
like
off.
he's like having me take pictures of him from the side. He's like, don't post these. I don't want anybody to know. I want to show up to the track and like blow everyone's mind. And like, I wake up the next morning at like 2:00 in the morning. He posted a picture.
I was like, it's too cool. I gotta show some.
I don't
people.
think people do this stuff a lot too when they're building bikes, but I don't think they realize that, like, you're building bikes for the internet now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you think that, like, if you don't post pictures of this bike before Daytona, right, then there's only 40 people at the show.
Yeah,
like,
right.
And you get 2 days of exposure during Daytona.
Yeah,
and then
it's
that's
not
it.
like a magazine release where somebody can stop and then they like pull it like, oh, you did this, oh, did that, or see it at a show. It's like you literally just kind of show your stuff, so when they actually see it in person, they go, oh
shit.
man, like
I wanna see this bike.
He cut
It's
the
supposed to be
frame
here."
away and like tucked the wiring all in it,
Yeah.
and every bolt's changed, and like you try to find a flaw just because at that point you're like, this thing's so gorgeous, but
Yeah.
you got to kind of show it as you build it,
And that's one of those things. I feel like when people, they show the world what's going on with the builds, it makes people more interested in the final product as opposed to,
well,
like,
Kyle's crushing that right
Yeah,
now. Those
exactly.
2 bikes that he's doing are, I mean, he's been doing that the entire time. Like, he'll be like, hey, here's a photo of the paint scheme, but it'll be black and white, and he doesn't want everyone to know. And then like a week later, he like releases a tiny glimpse of like the color, and he's been like just little by little giving people just a tiny bit at a time, and it's drawing a huge draw to what
Yeah.
he's been doing. You know what I mean? And those bikes are super sick. Like, I can't wait to go check them out this weekend.
And that's like with my YouTube, when I was like rebuilding, Teal bike, and then when I did the 03, it's like kind of just showing people as you go, like a little bit. So when it's finally done, they're like, oh, all right, you did this and that. And it's not just like, oh, I seen that bike, that's 100th anniversary, 03. They're like, oh no, it's got all this stuff done to it. And I don't know. You just got to do a little bit.
yeah, it's I don't know, man. But I'm stoked about these bikes. I'm glad they came out. They still haven't released horsepower numbers, which I'm assuming it's probably stock, the same as it was for the CVOs.
98.
Yeah,
It's all way less until you put a nice cam in them. Unless you're in California, then you probably can't.
yeah, but just so everybody knows, these bikes are for the people that are seeking the West Coast styling. Just so you know that.
What they?
Is that what this says on their website?
Riders seeking West Coast style in unrelenting power.
Interesting.
There was like, they had a couple funny words on that. I didn't read it all, but like some people sharing, I can't even remember.
Yeah, I think I read something about like all styling was based off of South California.
Yeah, so
they
they
had that
mentioned
in, like,
in the
that
thing.
video.
They
they're
say
like, oh, this is-
SoCal, not South
Oh.
California.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I read something where they said actually South California. I was like, that's
Oh, that
what
would be
I
funny if
thought
they
of.
mispronounced it. Hey, baby. Footsie under the table.
It's kicking me, kicking you.
It's a giant
He's
like,
got-
leg right here. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
no,
got-
I need a custom table. Trying to one day.
That's all like engraved.
I want one that says like Sons of Anarchy in the middle.
What if you got that table from the
That'd
set?
be so sick. I'd definitely
So
rock
you had to
that.
hire the people to get it up here.
Nah, we can carry it. It's not that bad. We'll figure it out.
But yeah,
No, it's like these bikes that just came out. I don't think they're what we're gonna buy because we customize, you know, beyond what it is. But for somebody to go and buy one, you know, like it's already got motor. It's kind of, you know,
yeah,
sitting there
Cam
good.
and
Like,
117 is good.
Finance
enough.
up my Screaming Eagle Olins into my thing and pay a high interest rate on it, and then you know get some bars in the seat. Like it's not what we're gonna do, but whatever. It gets more people out there.
I really
so
thought,
I really don't even care.
You know, when they a couple weeks ago they had some more leaks came out with the baggers behind the lowrider S.
Yeah, I dropped that one first, I think.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So that one came out, and we talked about it on one of the podcasts, and a lot of people were talking about how it looks like the bagger had an inverted front end, which
Didn't those just idiots that don't know what a reflector on a
Exactly.
Harley looks like? Every
like,
reflector on a Harley has had the exact same shape.
Yeah.
Like you can
I
tell
looked
what's
in,
a
I'm
Harley.
like,
Just
no,
by
it looks
that.
like it's
So-
got cowbells.
if I could complain about one thing, it would have been nice to see them come out with their own version of a T-bar or moto bar riser setup for a bagger as an option to buy. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously that was one of the things that, like, this bike, this ST was supposed to be their air quotes performance bagger they were coming out with, which, like we said, it has the fender, it has the motor. I was
Doesn't
not
have the
being
extended bags. It doesn't have the mullet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all they have all the parts that they already came with.
Yeah.
Bullets are for men, not motorcycles.
Yeah, exactly.
So the other thing that I really wonder is because on the video it talked about they had improved lean angles. So does that mean that this ST version of these bikes have
It's a
taller
little, I think
suspension?
it's a taller. Like if you
I was
look
gonna
at the
say, 'cause
side,
a special is a 12-inch rear shock.
yeah. So they probably just put ultra shocks on it, like 13-inch shocks or something. Because if you look from the side, it does. I don't know if it's the angle of whatever photos they took, but it looks like the back is a little bit higher. It looks like the exhaust points up just a tick when you're looking at it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like again, I don't know the specs of everything. But it could have been that. It could be. I don't think they lifted the bags on the
They did
bagger.
on the ST.
On the Softail they
Yeah.
did. It said they lifted the bags, but that's not what hits first. The brake pedal hits first on a Softail. It's the dumbest design they ever did. But you know, I don't know. Maybe they made the floorboards narrower or the floorboard mounts like thinner. So that you know they get 1 extra degree or in half a degree.
You're
more.
giving
They're
Harley
like
the
more
type of
lean
credit
angle.
that they do not deserve.
It's already in production. We're just gonna say the words, you know.
I mean, you can pop this up. Everything about this bike, it. I don't know, man. It looks like the same exact height as normal.
And like I said, it could have just been the angles from what I
It's
was
what
looking
they
at.
said. It's like
No
no
it looks like
mullet,
it swoops up
no
just a
mullet.
tad.
Has that sport fender on it. They said it comes with a 117 and bronze wheels and like bronze engine accents and everything. So it's not like that crazy. It's like a little mini motor packet. It's like a
West
CVO
Coast
without-
styling, blacked
All
out
this is-
everything,
this is
sport
like-
touring profile.
This is the guy that works at the Harley dealership that has access to all the takeoff parts and goes, "Hey guys, I'm going to build a bike out of shit we already got laying around."
Well, no,
you
it's
know?
it's exact. It feels like a quick to market bike.
Yeah, 100%.
You
But
know
that's
what I
what they needed. They didn't
Yeah.
need to redesign anything. They just need to stop putting the gay shit on and put fucking cool shit or the not cool shit on and put cool shit. You know?
But I don't. I was also wondering this. It's like, why did they take away the rear seat and the passenger pegs and then charge more for this bike?
Yeah,
they did that on the Lowrider S though.
Yeah,
Every
but then
version
they
of
came
Lowrider
out. Did
S.
you see that new seat that they came out with?
Yeah, that thing
like,
is
the drag race seat?
That
or
seat
drag
looks like the
seat?
kind of seat you would make for something, but haven't gone into final production. Like it's just shaped out of foam. Real
Yeah,
quick.
like I'm not feeling that one. I don't think they
I don't know. So
For
I
like
think
what
they,
$600.
I like where their head's at.
Oh, it's
no, it's expensive. But I like where their head's at, where they're trying to find something modular. Because, like, that's another thing is, like, the fucking, seats are something super personal. And not everybody needs to be in the same position.
Yeah.
And so it looks like they've got multiple foam blocks or whatever. But I feel like that should be the one that you sit at the dealership on and you can try it.
Yeah.
And then they'll get you a final, like, here's, based on all the foam blocks you put in, this is the seat you get. You know what I mean? And, like, it's
Man,
final
that's
covered
such a
or
good
whatever.
idea. There really is. That, I mean, if you go to a dealership and you want to fine tune this bike to you
Yeah.
and run factory stuff, it's like
Yeah,
if you
have like a couple different back lengths and a couple different seat heights, and then you can add them. Let the guy take it for a day or a couple hours and make sure that it's comfortable, and then
or
bring
they
it
just
back.
have like 3 or 4 different options, and you can pick the one that suits you best.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
but
But I don't know. There's I feel like you know, I like whenever Harley releases accessories that I can put on my bike, right?
Yeah.
Like my first, you know, I was a big fan of the lower fairings that came out on the CVOs in 19.
Yeah.
And so that actually reignited the passion to want to have another Road Glide because I love the way it looks with that. So when they come out with certain parts that kind of help the bike aesthetically or even cut like aftermarket parts, like I love running Harley air cleaners. I just like the elbow look on you know,
Yeah.
the baggers and stuff. But like I said, it would have been nice to see some form of Harley style moto bar as an option.
well,
what
here's
they
the
would
other
have
thing
done
that
to solve
one,
the gauge
no
problem.
one's really, at least I haven't heard anybody mention, is they said if you watch and listen to that thing, the fucking dude that sounds like he's a Bond villain, the fucking whatever CEO,
the new owner, yeah,
he says this is the first release of 2022.
yeah.
So that means that they're planning another release later on down the road sometime
See
for
that?
something. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know what, but he says this is the first release of 2022.
See, if they would have like they would have ran like a moto style bar on it and just got rid of the whole gauge situation and then just rewrote some programs to run the gauges inside the infotainment center.
That would have been amazing.
You know what I mean?
But
Like
it depends on the. But here's the thing. Then you got to figure out what the refresh rate of that screen is. Because if that screen doesn't have a super fast refresh rate, you go to fucking.
spoken like a true gamer.
You fucking you rev the motor and it's still showing you're at 2,000, but you're at 4,000 RPM.
Okay,
you know
I didn't
what
think
I mean?
about
like,
that.
You got to have a fast acting screen at that
It's a
point.
Milwaukee tractor motor. They don't rev that fast.
I'm sure the screen can keep up better than the Call of Duty fucking guns and shit like that. But you know, like homeboys are asking about the inverted front, and I kind of felt like they weren't going to do that on these baggers yet. I
No.
feel like that's something they're going to hold off
That
for the
one,
Rev
that's a
Max.
huge change. Like everything they did this year is
Quick
it's
to
already
market.
it's motors that they already had made.
Yeah.
It's styling that they already had dialed. You know, it's parts.
And the
they
rear
already
fender
had
is
made.
just an ultra fender, right?
Exactly. It's all shit that they already had made. So they didn't have to do any sort of testing except on the fairing for the softail. They had to figure out, you know, crash test that and you know, wind tunnel test that and everything. Everything else is things they'd already done. An inverted front end, that's a huge change because that's spring rates, that's valving, that's all, you know, angles,
Changing everything around the
and so
gauges.
it's going to take longer.
Brakes, fender
They can't
mounts.
just produce it and then put it out because then they'll get sued if something goes wrong. You know, so it's going to take longer for them to come to market with that.
Well, apparently right now they're having issues with the starters on the Pan Americas.
I've heard a couple of issues they've had on.
Yeah, I've heard
those.
like
The clocks don't work on any of them.
For-
That was one I'd never heard of. I was in the dealership. I was like, "What's up with these Pan Americas?" Like every single one of them, the clock's fucked. Like it either reads fast or it'll randomly reset to 12, or you'll be on the bike for an hour and it'll say you're on it for 49 minutes.
yeah, Larry has that Pan America.
Yeah.
You know, I heard his do it a bunch, and I was like, it sounds like it's going, oh yeah. And then like Adam, our G Destroyer, has his, and I heard his do it too. So like
Yeah.
two of the Pan Americas that I know, like
Well, supposedly what Larry's dealing with is that there's no solution to it. So right now he has a bike that won't start because it's not powerful enough, or there's no compression releases in that new motor, or some shit like that.
I haven't heard it that bad yet.
Yeah, so apparently,
Apparently, sick dyno though.
yeah, fucking wish you would have kept his other bike. But yeah, supposedly there's not a recall yet or a solution. So people, you know, are kind of the ones that are having problems are just kind of shit out of luck until.
I mean, that's like I get it. Everybody wanted to jump on getting the Pan America, but look at any time Harley's done anything new. When have they ever knocked it out of the park for the first 3 years?
Fucking V-Rod.
That was Porsche, bro.
The first one was sick, dude. All aluminum. I'll tell you, it came right out of fucking Terminator.
Well, I mean, when the M8 first came out, you had the sumping issues and the
You
oil
had
pump
sumping
problems.
issues. You had oil pump problems. You had it sounded stupid as fuck on the starter. Still sounds stupid as fuck.
Well,
We all got used to it. But you
Yeah.
remember how the fucking twin cams used to start, and you had like a nice little brr, like,
Well, like one thing I remember on the early Milwaukee 8s, which that they recalled was like the idle RPM. You know, it was
yeah,
like
it was
the
like
early
it
ones
was set at like 700 or 750.
it was like I think it was 850 and they had
Lugging the motor and
950,
shit?
but it was
Yeah.
like because I put a cam in my Milwaukee 8 when I had 1 mile on it. You know, I even rode the bike and then I tore it down, put a cam in it the day I got delivered, and then like put it in like with the 468 cam, and I had a full length D&D, and then the 850. I was like, this bike actually sounds pretty rad because it was
Yeah.
like wop wop wop, but then like people say with it going so slow, it was like messing up the oil pump
It's
system.
fucking. It's always been terrible. It's been something you never like when you hear the guys with their fucking bikes up and it's like potato, potato, potato. Like that's fucking terrible for your bike.
Right.
I get it. It sounds cool, but you know, people on shovelheads they don't really care so much because those bikes don't make shit for power for the most part.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with a bike that is making 150 fucking horsepower in a lot of these cases on these M8s with just basic fucking bolt-on parts, like you got to take precautions and make everything last as long as possible. Plus, you start adding stereos and fucking lights, which half of these people do, and that 850 may not be able to keep up with the current draw, of the charging system, and you're going to just die. Your bike's going to die just idling.
Yeah, I mean, these are all valid points that
With your 131, you ever dyno that?
this one, of course, when they put it in, they dynoed and they did some tuning on it with the Thundermax from the dealership. And so last time I had it done on the last motor of the last bike, it ended up after like maybe 8 or 9 pulls, he would correct a couple things and then it would start learning. And eventually I got to about 136, 146, which was horsepower and torque.
Solid. For
Yeah,
a bolt-in
solid.
motor.
For a bolt-in motor with just
With a Harley cam.
with a Harley cam and the
cams are
fucking TBR
garbage.
exhaust.
Yeah.
Right. This one, we only did like 3 dyno pulls, and the first dyno pull was like 110, and then the next one was 120, and then the third one was 129, and we're like, yeah, we don't need to keep pulling this because all it's doing is learning at this point, right?
Yeah.
So we got to like 129, 138, or 139, and then we stopped doing dyno pulls. So I don't know what it is now, if it's continued to learn
I
a
know a
little
guy
bit
that
more.
owns a dyno that you can get it tested on.
Yeah, I heard. Dude, honestly, I've barely ridden that bike since I've had the motor put in.
Yeah,
I
you
rode
ripped it apart as soon as you came
Yeah,
back.
'Cause you had that done right before Smokies.
I went to Smokies, and so by the time I got to Smokies, I was kind of at that point where I could, kind of break it in. It was like, 600-700 mile trip. But then the Smokies was a shit show of traffic everywhere. You could not ride anywhere.
Yeah.
It's like the roads that we were in to stay at the house were fucking beautiful, but as soon as you start ripping around a corner, then you get stuck behind a car. And then if you get out to the main roads, I don't know if you were with us that day that me, Mark, Jetty, we all left the dealership to go back to the house.
No, 'cause
and
the
we were.
bike was blowing
Oh
up.
yeah, that's right.
Thanks, asshole.
I had to ride in a truck all weekend
Yeah.
and drown away my sorrows.
we were blasting, splitting, and we had cops kind of fucking with us, and
Yeah.
of course everybody there was flipping us off because they don't like the one time we can get around, like, fuck us, right? If
Yeah.
it was rain or cold, they'd be laughing at us. But
I don't know. When we went out the last day, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Because Steve borrowed Jetty's bike, and we went and did some riding. Or no, the day before, too, wasn't bad either.
Yeah, because
I left Saturday only because of the potential rain, and I the last couple of trips I've taken, I've gotten hammered on rain on the way home.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I want to get home before this rain.
forget-
We lucked out.
What was that little the sand slide board? What the hell do they call those?
Shuffleboard.
Shuffleboard. So we're in the basement, he's packing his shit up, and I turned to him. I was like, "All right, if I get 3 points," I was like, "You have to stay one more night." He like stops packing, and I do it, and I mean, it just barely dropped off the end. He just keeps packing. He's like, "I would have honored it." I was like, "Damn."
That was kind of like I said, from Sturgis till now. You know, I've been mentally out of it, man. I haven't really been.
Well, and plus with that trip, it was like me, like you took off way many days before, and then it was like it wasn't like you just
yeah,
went to
you
the
didn't
Smokies.
just get there. You were like, it was the end of your trip, and you were headed back home.
Well,
And I'll get that on trips too. Like, I'd take off way before, and people are like, "Oh, you're gonna stay?" Like, I'm just getting here. I'm like, dude, I've been gone for a week and a half.
Well,
Like,
the other thing that's kind of changed too for me was like with doing photography and then obviously doing the podcast. When I'm out on the road, I need to get episodes.
Right.
And when every night is this rager getting drunk fest and I get no episodes, I get no photography done, then in myself, I'm like, well, I could be at work right now
Right.
doing stuff
I
that I
gotta make
need to be
money
doing.
somehow.
Yeah. And I'm down to drink. I mean, that first night in the Smokies, me and you and Mark and Cody B tried to hang out. He couldn't fuck with us. We stayed up drinking until fucking like 4 a.m. that night, you know? And I can do that. I can't do that every fucking night.
Right.
And I need to be able to do podcasts. I need to be able to do photography. It's the things that I need to be able to bring back from a trip to justify being gone and out of this shop for fucking 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? And when I went to Milwaukee, I was only able to get 2 podcasts. I was expecting to get 4. So that was, you know, if I come back with 5 podcasts on the road, then that gives me time to put those podcasts out and get to work.
Yeah.
You know, I can get some work done instead of right now it's Thursday. I need to be buffing a bike, but this is only the 4th podcast I've been able to do this month. So it's just, it gets stressful, man. You know, it's not all, I mean, it's not all
It's a balancing act.
Yeah, because like I'll get
hard.
that with people, like, you know, with doing the Scream and Speed Fab, and then it's like, so if I'm out and I don't have that work getting done, but then it's like, you know, people are like, I'll do the YouTube, and then it's like doing that, and, you know, you're just trying to juggle everything, and it's like, fuck, I'm only one dude, you know, like, all right, you filmed it, like, why is it not edited and up, and you're like, all right, sorry, I'm up till like 2 a.m. trying to edit this, and then, you know, you go to upload it, and you're like, oh, it takes 4 hours to upload it. Let's hopefully it does it while I sleep.
Yeah.
And then you wake up in the morning, and it's like upload failed. And you're like, well, my day started, like, whatever. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like it's not all perfect conditions all the time. And,
Well, that's the same thing that happened with the Down South camp out. I was supposed to get 4 or 5 podcasts and do a whole photo shoot just like we did at the FASTLIFE camp out at the Down South.
Oh, I could have told you that wasn't going to happen down there.
It rained, and that got fucked. And then we had the perfect amount. We had the perfect group of dudes for a funny ass fun podcast with Justin, my machinist, Sit Down Steve, Jaden, Big Trouble Mark. We had Jetty. You know, we had all these people there, but nobody could focus.
right.
You know what I mean? There's too many people there. There's too much going on the outside of this conversation.
Right.
And I try to explain that to people. It's like, look, man, like it's hard to do podcasts at rallies. It's hard to do podcasts at party events.
Yeah, you
because
can't.
everybody feels like they're doing this and they're missing out on something down there.
Right.
Yeah.
That was like,
or everybody wants to be a part of the podcast you're doing too,
Yeah.
and you get everybody trying to walk in and yell from the fucking background. It's
Yeah.
like,
that was like when me and you went to New York and we did that one with like Clems.
Yeah.
Whereas like finally I was like, all right, if we're gonna do this, like we need to do it now, and then like not try to be a dick, but like, you know, people in the back, you got to be quiet, you know, because these mics will just
pick up all that shit.
You know, if not, like let's just go out and party and whatever. But if you want to like, you know,
That podcast we did with Clems, that was actually fun. Because I got to learn about him, and then we had a good fucking night that drinking whiskey.
Oh, fucking Scotty, when
Scotty, dude, oh my
Scotty
God.
gets on the end. But they went fucking crab fishing or something.
We went crabbing.
Like, they went crabbing like middle of the podcast. I was like, all right, cool, they're out of the house. But like, I don't know, they borrowed some stuff from the person below our Airbnb to like go crabbing. And
That was the best first experience in New York ever, man. I'll never forget that.
that I had the video where like right as we were like rolling into New York, you almost got smoked by that Jeep.
Yeah, while I was trying to take pictures of you.
And he's like sitting sideways and like getting a picture, like me like rolling, and then like I'm like YouTube videoing him, and then this Jeep just rolls by. He looks back at me like, oh,
Like you see me like in his video, like jump and immediate look at Steve, like, did you see that?
yeah. I was like, got it on video. But yeah, then me and you were like rolling in New York. That was so sick.
Dude, that was one of the that whole trip, that's when I went and
The
got
whole
the
trip
130.
minus the last 40 miles, because I made it all the way home like 40 miles, and I
Yeah.
stripped all the front teeth off my sprocket.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Go call up Chuck. I'm like, hey Chuck, you got a truck and trailer? Come pick me up. I was like, I'm just outside of Lansing.
I mean, that was the first for me. I mean, that's when the first time I went to Milwaukee. Then rode the ferry across, met you and Charlie at Muskegon.
Yep.
That was the first time ever being in Michigan. I had a great time there.
Yeah, we ripped a little up the lake shore. And
Yeah, it was beautiful, man.
hung out, did that podcast at night, and then we did that Baker one. Dude, that Baker podcast was sick.
That Baker podcast,
Like-
I don't understand why people haven't, like,
Dude,
I think people that don't understand some of the, like, there are, of course, like some guys like Cruzy, right? Everybody wants to hear the Cruzy podcast or the San Diego Customs, but those Baker podcasts, even the Yaffe podcast,
Yeah.
so much good
yeah, because
story.
it's like they've
well,
been
they've
around,
been around
for,
since
Yeah.
like the
But these
70s.
fucking-
So it's like
80s.
stories that are coming out, and then it was like even up in that area, like when I think we were sitting, I don't know if this made it on the podcast, but it was like the office area we did it, and they're like, yeah, this just used to be a pool table up here, and like
Yeah.
telling some of the shenanigans that went down. I
Yeah.
think it was like just to us, but yeah, like that Baker podcast, that one was sick.
It was a great podcast, and Bert's a fucking wild man. lot of respect for that dude.
Yeah.
You know, he is what I think we all should be like as bikers in a biker,
Right.
you know, industry.
Yeah.
That might be like what
Maybe
we turn
without the
into.
heavy drugs that he probably did get into, but you know, like his demeanor, like you walk in the shop, there's fucking titties on the wall like a goddamn biker.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, yeah, hopefully fucking us, you know, maybe we turn into that someday.
I hope
You
so.
know, like keep at it and
Hopefully we don't get canceled first.
yeah. Remember
Can't
New
cancel
York?
you if you don't care.
Fucking ride to New York where I had all that GoPro footage I thought I lost.
Oh.
I think I found it.
You said that last time, but we're still waiting on that.
Yeah. I gotta like go through editing.
That's what that was. I was surprised. Well, it was also fucking 2020 in the pandemic because when we tried to ride through last year, when we all came through, we couldn't get fucking 6 fucking feet riding through New York.
Dude, what we were going wrong ways, down one ways, and
Ripping, dude.
freaking that.
Down
Yeah.
in New York, riding fucking down Saks Fifth Avenue or,
Yeah, with
or just
Danny?
Fifth Avenue.
Yeah,
no,
of course.
no, this is before we even made it there. That first time we came into
Oh,
New
yeah,
York.
yeah.
Like, we got to rip around. Now, with Danny in Brooklyn and Queens, that shit was fucking wild.
Yeah.
That was like,
Danny's a wild man.
I was like, oh, are we doing this?
Yeah. Dude, riding on sidewalks, like whatever it took to get there. And like, yeah, I had.
We were cutting through like docks and shit. I'm like, this seems
Yeah.
like a car chase to this situation.
I was like, all these movies starting to make sense when they're in these random areas. 'Cause that's just how you get from point A to point B in New York.
Yeah, it was a wild one, man. But likely so, like that was to me, that was one of the best experiences of New York ever, and it was because I was with such great people there. You know, with the Clems boys up there, and then of course Danny and you. It was just cool, man. Like
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I still remember that. I got fucking hooked on bagels while I was there. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't like bagels
Dude,
ever.
I like honestly that trip messed me up on pizza. Like I don't know, whatever. When we went to L&B's place, I don't know. What you ever just got like the pepperoni sausage like pizza? Like I've had pizza like 3 times.
You talking about the
since then.
Brooklyn spot we went to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. They're like, should got square pie. I was like, I don't know. The round pie was amazing.
Yeah.
And like, I've gotten pizza like 3 times since then. I'm like, it's not even the same.
I got a list of some places we're just gonna
Yeah.
try in Austin.
I'm just
I
like,
did,
it's
like,
not
a
the
little
same.
research.
I'm like,
of some pizza
I'll
places.
be like honest, like that New York pizza messed it up for me.
Yeah, I was actually telling my son about that. You know, taking him. You know, like I said, we're gonna be there on Tuesday.
Okay.
Tuesday and Wednesday, and I think we're probably gonna park my Jeep at like the first manufacturing place, and then just try to ride get a Airbnb to the subway, and then just ride the subway into the city
Like
and
a
stay there
Uber-
for like 2 days.
Uber to the subway.
Airbnb to the subway. That's yeah, Uber. I'm drunk, man. No, it's
that
I'm
monster hitting hard.
I'm really excited to take my son there.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't. What's the main strip in New York? What is it? Fucking called?
I guess Times Square would probably be the
Times
main
Square. I've
one.
never seen Times Square. Been in New York twice.
We went there with the group this
Yeah.
year, and we had a good ass time, dude.
Yeah, 'cause,
we
like-
met Monty at some random bar down there, and then we bar hopped till like 4 a.m.
Oh yeah, y'all were calling us and FaceTiming us
Oh,
from
we
all
were?
the bars.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Cody B was. He was like FaceTiming and Monty's in the background. And
Yeah. I don't know. I have to have a good New York.
New
trip.
York, that place is, dude. It's
I want to try and make that East Coast jam this year. It's not in New York City, but
Yeah, it's outside.
I did some changes in how I'm running the business to where hopefully I can take a little more time off because I can't travel as much as y'all. I can't do it, unfortunately.
trust me, it's a balancing act for us.
Yeah, I know it is, but I got the kid too. I've got another
Yeah.
like a single dad aspect of it that I just can't get away from too. But like I'm gonna try and make it up to that. And even if I go by myself, I at least want to drive through New York City one time on a bike. I don't care if I never make it again because I'm not gonna lie, I fucking hate the cold. Like I love being on the South. Like I want to stay where it's nice and
dude,
fucking warm.
we were up there in June. We were fucking chafing. It
Yeah.
was- I spent a half a day looking for a goddamn pack of baby powder somewhere.
You got to bring that shit. You got to
Dude,
always
I
have
didn't.
it on you.
We left Dallas. We were hoodieing it up and had light jackets on, and then there was a heat wave that went through the north, and it was miserable from New York all the way through Boston, all the way up to Maine and back. It was
On the fucking way back, you went to King Tony's.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, dude, that was the hottest day I think I've
Oh
ever
yeah.
had in my life.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right for the anniversary
Yep.
party. That's
Dude,
right.
I
That was
went
the end
through,
of that trip.
I went through 4 shirts during that day. Like just
I didn't want to leave that party, but I was so miserable from the heat.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck this party. I need a pool or I'm going fucking home.
Yeah.
You know, and
Dude, it was so fucking.
somebody was like, oh, I got these raffle tickets. I want to wait and see if I win some. I was like, I'm fucking going home. And I went straight to Jaden's house. He was still up there with y'all. My wife was hanging out with Jaden's old lady. I went straight there and went to the pool there and just stayed at Jaden's house while he was still up there with you guys. I heard y'all had a fucking blast that night, though.
Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe. Play the fifth.
Yeah, there's
But yeah, that I know what heat wave you're talking about.
Dude, it was the next day. Well, the shitty part was like we partied way too. At least I did. I partied way too hard that night.
Dude, we were at fucking Justin's house, and it was like 1:32 in the morning, and you just roll up.
Yeah, we had just gotten into town. Like we were all talking. I was like, all right, cool. Everybody wants to go to sleep here, so I'm gonna go see everybody. At the
I
fucking
remember
house.
you got at the house. I think I stayed up till like 4 a.m. that night.
Yeah, his wife had like a bunch of food like laid out, and I was pretty hungry at the time too. And there's not a lot to do in Little Rock after hours, apparently. And,
I'm glad that
I remember the way home, freaking whatever. He was on like a party.
dude,
that
I was,
and I hit him up and I was like, whatever. It was like 6 in the morning. And I was like, just trying to beat the heat home because I was already over like being as hot as it was the day before. And I was like, hey, I'm leaving in a little bit. If you're down, let's go. And he texted me back at like 10 or 11. He's like, I just woke up. He's like, I didn't go to bed till like 5.
Dude, we went way too hard. And then the shitty part was that ride home. Like, you at least left early enough to start it in the cool weather. I woke up at like 10. We go to lunch with Tony and Trisha and go to like Cracker Barrel or something, which is where he likes to go every time we eat, it seems like. And then I don't think I headed home till like noon or 1. It was like in the middle of the hottest part of the day, and I'm just hungover as shit.
How long is that ride from Little Rock to Austin?
7 hours-ish.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it was just like nothing but sweat and feeling terrible. And the bike's like fucking hot as shit the entire time. And
Yeah.
it was a fucking hot
Whenever that was that June?
Yeah. Mid to late June.
Yeah, it was a fucking shitty ride.
We're doing
It was worth it 100%. I still don't have that award. I didn't even enter the bike in the show, and I won Best Softail, and I don't even know where the fucking award is. Like, it just got left. I lost clothes. I got shirts from everybody. Apparently, I threw them in someone's truck. I have no clue whose truck they ended up in. Like, it was a bad night for Mark.
Yeah. Yeah, this year, man, like, a lot of people keep asking if I'm going to Daytona, and wish I could. You know what I mean? Are y'all planning on going at all?
Yeah, I think
I'm going to try. I think I've got a house out there that I can stay at that's not too far from Destination Daytona. So it's like I want to at least try and make it. But I'm going to try and bring the kid too. So like I'm going to line up some babysitters to watch the kid during some of the events.
Yeah.
But then like take her around to see some things too. I think it lines up with her spring break maybe. I'll have to double
Makes
check.
sense, yeah.
But I think it'd be fun. I enjoyed it because I went like the week after everybody went last year.
Yeah.
Everybody else went, and then the kid and I drove out there in the truck. And
I
we
remember
spent
that.
a weekend down there, and it was, I had never rode that far in Florida or anything, and like I get it, like it's beautiful. I mean, it's not like twisty fucking beautiful riding, but riding up A1A and through all the cities and like over the bridges onto the little peninsula, like all that shit's cool as fuck. And the bars are dope as shit because you can like sit right next to the beach and drink. You can drink on the beach, which you can't do in California. You go in California, like, no alcohol on the beach. You can't smoke a cigarette out here. You can't park your car on the beach. And Florida's like, fuck it, do all that shit. But.
Yeah, I'm planning on going out. I might van it out there and then throw the bike in the back. Because I kind of want to, like, I don't know, because, like, don't do a crazy amount of riding. So I kind of want to have the bike in, like, race trim, just kind of like how I have it now with the tall seat and the mids and all that. I think it'd be pretty cool because they're doing the King of the Baggers, out there.
Yeah.
I think the second weekend it's out at Daytona. I'd love to enter in that, but just, like, with the Moto America, like, I've kind of looked into it. And BRL, like, I don't know, this last BRL with rebuilding the motor, all that, like, that was a $10,000, thing for me to like make it to that one. So like I just need to build some cash back up before that. But they got
what are they charging to race in motor? In like a couple
like
grand?
It's like
BRL
the cheapest part.
BRL was $300 to do the race, and then I bought a garage. A garage was another $300, and then they had a track day on Friday. I didn't know about this till like that. That was like $180, but everybody ended up getting it for free because they canceled Sunday. But like I'm like they're already trying to do the best they can. Like, I didn't try to ask for like money back. Be like, oh, you gave it to her, but I was like, whatever. Keep the $180. If it keeps this shit going, like whatever, you know, instead of trying to get a refund or whatever. So
Makes sense.
And then like Daytona, they have the Hardcore Cycle show on Sunday the 6th. So I'm gonna be there for sure. John asked me to be like a judge. And then the next day, they have the Hangover show.
I was about to say that's at like Space Coast.
Yeah,
right?
Space Coast.
I want to go
which
down.
I haven't met those guys, but they hooked me
Are
up.
they a
with
dealership?
I think they're a dealership, and then I think they have their own little performance division.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
off on
I
the
think
like
it's
what Moonshine kinda has
exactly.
going
It's
on?
just to skirt around the fact that Harley penalizes you if you sell aftermarket parts and do other shit. So they start a second company to run all that stuff through. That's technically not the dealership, but is the dealership type shit.
So like, yeah, they hooked me up with that crank for my bike and for like BRL and whatnot. They're like, we were trying to race, but we couldn't, and you can, so make it happen. I'm like, all right, cool. So like, I've even met those guys in person. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
gonna really make it, and that's Monday, after the Hardcore Cycle show. So we're probably gonna get all drunk during the Hardcore Cycle show, and then it's in Palm Bay, so I think it's an hour and a half away. So it'll be like a little bit of a Florida ride, but just if people want to like come
this.
yeah, if people want to like come down to that, like I feel
Long
like it'd
straight.
be a cool one to support. So,
Yeah,
And then I don't know what else is going on during Daytona Bike Week that like I need to go. I need to get some freaking good seafood.
I know. I saw that Nick just said that they're sponsoring an
Yeah,
FXR
like a
show
FXR thing.
with Harley Davidson. I don't know what day it is, but I messaged him about sponsoring that because that sounds like a fun event. You know what I mean? It's like a chopper FXR show, which would be sick.
Yeah, I think, man,
Like-
I need to go do podcasts.
You know how much you talked about having FOMO from Daytona
Yeah.
last year, and then you're gonna miss it again this year, and then
Well, I did have FOMO a lot,
you just
but
need to like go test drive one of those new STs, and then just don't bring it back till after Daytona, because like your bike probably won't be all done and painted. Just
so let me
Wait,
let
what
me-
if?
let me tell you
hear
how-
me out. What if you take the blue bike?
It's not about taking a bike. I'd rather
Okay, I
ride
was
the
about to say because
T-Sport.
I want to get the fucking the red FXR together, and that would give me an excuse to put the red FXR together, so I could ride the FXR out there, and then you take the blue
So
bike.
I still have about 20 helmets on back order that I haven't taken any helmets in since September.
Jesus.
So I still have 20 helmets of people who deposited me before September. Right? That I couldn't do helmets until mid-October, and then that's when all the bikes started showing up that I had scheduled all year.
Yeah.
So this bike that I'm finishing now, deliver it. I'm gonna be gone a week, and then when I get back, I have those obligations of those helmets that I promised I would have done by Daytona.
Yeah.
So then I have like 6 helmets I got to try to bang out and get done by Daytona, and then I have another X amount of helmets that are promised for people that are going to the camp out, and I've not taken in any fucking helmets whatsoever until the last of this order. This batch of helmets is done.
Yeah.
Right. So I have 20 helmets to do. I have a bagger for House of Harley. I got Aaron Coit's bagger that's getting dropped off after Daytona. I have my bagger that I need to have done by the time June comes around for our trip to Washington.
You gotta have it done before then because you got the camp out.
Well, I can ride the T-Sport to the camp out.
Oh, okay.
And then Chance just bought the ST lowrider, and we're hoping that delivery will take place at least by April so that we can paint it before we go on the trip to the Washington. So I even hit up some of my homies in NorCal, and I'm thinking I might just fly to NorCal for like a 4-day weekend to do podcasts with some big name folks up there, just so I can kind of bring some high end content to the podcast while I'm getting all this shit done by June.
Yeah.
And then I got to restructure the way things are, the way I do things, because the helmet things get out of hand. It gets out of hand because everybody's okay to wait, and that's an awesome thing. But then
Dealing with the same shit at my shop where like
Yeah.
all that would come in was bikes that were fucked or big projects because they were the ones that were okay to wait because it was first come first serve. And so I stopped doing that anymore, and now it's like by appointment only. And so like we'll schedule an appointment out that way I'm not inundated with a shit ton of like big projects
that are just sitting on the floor
that I can't get done and I can't make money on and can't pay bills on, for at least 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is,
See, the one thing I've talked to a lot of other painters like Poland and Lucky Strike, and so, like Poland and Jeremy are both much better at working on multiple projects at one time. I'm not. Like me, I'm like a laser focused. What I'm working on is getting all my attention, right? Yeah. So I have a hard time working on multiple helmets or multiple paint projects at one time. And that's my flaw, right?
I could understand that. I can't imagine trying to, like, if you're doing one helmet and then you got to wait for whatever, and then you jump on the other one, but then you're thinking about this one, and you end up doing the wrong, using the wrong color, doing the wrong size,
so with doing that, like, and also it's like when someone's waited 6-8 months or even almost a year for a helmet, which I haven't got there yet, I want them to know that every time when it is their project, that they're getting 100% attention and not this rushed attention that they didn't wait for. You know what I mean? So it's hard to figure out. Plus, and I was just having this conversation with Instab and Kyle, and I came to the realization, like, I don't have time to try to build a bike, right? Yeah. We built the FXR as the last time I built something, right? That was a frame off. You helped a big, you did the fucking tranny, the fucking, the motor on that thing. That was a big project, right? Mm-hmm. I wanted to take the bagger down to the frame, but I just don't have the kind of time between producing 5 podcasts a month and the work that I have, plus managing a fucking wife and kids and shit like that,
and having any sort of life outside of work.
It's just tough, man. It's
that was back when you were like always working all the time, and I think you were working out of the house a little bit.
Well, I had this shop, but I was paying someone else had this shop, and I was just paying to use the paint booth here.
Yeah, but you were doing it at the house. So then,
I did all the artwork at the house.
If you woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning, you could just walk into the garage and get some work done. Whereas,
I didn't have a podcast either. You know what I mean? So I didn't have any other obligations other than painting. Yeah. Right. So it was a much different time. And now, the podcast stuff, and then you go into different events and shit like that. Going to Mama Tried, like that took a week out of work.
Well, and the other thing too is, I think Steve gets some of this too, is everyone hears about the fun party times when you go places, and so then when y'all show up, they're like, oh, it's that fucking Jace guy. He's down to fucking get wasted. You know what I mean? And then you just
let me buy you a beer. Let me buy you a beer.
Steve shows up to any event and someone's walking up with a White Claw, like, here, shotgun this, and so he can't ever have like a chill event. Like, sorry guys, I'm not going to be shotgunning White Claws today.
Somebody, someone was telling me that somebody said that, man, I thought that Jace guy was way more of a partier than he is, because the last couple of events I've been to, like, I've been there.
Yeah.
But I'm not like, I think I get more fucked up on podcasts than anything, period. But
God, that last one, the last year's fucking New Year Knew Us, I got way too fucked up on that podcast. I think I fell asleep on your couch at like 8 o'clock in the afternoon.
No, that was the night we went to,
That was the night
you guys left me at the bar.
Steve got left at the bar.
Weren't you making out with a chick, though?
Yeah, he was.
We thought you had it sealed, dude.
Well, like, I pass out because we get here and we're late, of course, just like always. And we hadn't ate, and so we instantly start doing the podcast and we start drinking hard.
Yeah.
And then
that's when you showed up with all the fucking White Claws and shit, right?
I had that video. It was like stacked.
Stacked on the tank. Roll in. We start drinking. Hadn't ate anything all fucking day long. Yeah. Well, I don't eat breakfast or lunch anyways ever. But like, it was fucking. So I got way too drunk. Y'all are like, hey, let's go out. We get back to your house. I instantly see your couch and I'm like, I'm not making it out, guys. Like, fucking peace. And I pass out. Well, I wake up at like 1 o'clock in the morning. No one's still at home. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, I'm just like hanging out around your house, like trying to figure something out. All of y'all show back up. You're like, oh, this is great. And I go, where the fuck is Steve at? Y'all are like, oh, we left Steve. It's like,
30
realize
miles.
it till you got home.
So wasted. Phone's dying. I'm like, oh, and I download the Lyft app or whatever, Deep Ellum, and then like I figure it out, and like this homeless dude walks up to me to get money. I'm like, dude, I'm way too drunk to give you any of my attention. I'm just trying to get home. He's like, all right, fair enough, guy. And like walks away.
Was that the Elotes night too?
No, I think that was the hood ride.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Corn in the cup.
Corn in the cup. No, but it was we had a good year, man. I felt like it was a strong one. You know, I guess if anything, I just kind of
I think
some learning curves for myself, phases, and some trial and error shit. You know what I mean?
Everything, and nothing's ever fucking constant and steady.
Yeah.
Like it's ebbs and flows. Everything moves, and you just got to be willing to fucking move with it and figure out what works.
One of the weirdest thing about this podcast is I still don't trust it. You know what I mean? Like financially,
yeah, it's hard.
And so like
if you don't have long-term contracts signed, like
well, they're good. I mean, like I said, there's a reason why our sponsors don't leave. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
But it's like if I had more time, like meaning that I didn't have to paint as much, because painting a helmet is like 70 hours. You know what I mean? 60 hours in a helmet. This bagger I'm doing right now has like almost 150 hours in it. So it's a long-term process to do paint jobs.
Yeah.
And so if I had more time to work on the content for this podcast or even start my own YouTube channel like I've been wanting to do for fucking ever, every time I want to do a YouTube channel, I go watch Steve's. I'm like, just be like Steve. Just do it. Just be like Steve. Just fucking let it come out. And then I'll go try to record a few things around the shop, and then I'll watch it, and I'll be like, no, delete.
Dude, it's so hard doing that.
That's like lately, it's like I just haven't been into the YouTube shit. Like, people are like, it was even like the whole like BRL thing, like I had it kind of leading up, like, but then it was like I just got too busy and it was just one more thing I had to take on. Yeah. So it was like between trying to like get side covers out the door, rebuild the bike, make sure parts are coming in, doing that, ordering new material. And then it was like, all right, now record, YouTube and then edit it and try to get it up and keep everybody happy. And then it was like finally like my cool down time was after I left the house of Harley party. Yeah. And then I had like 4 days to get across the country. And then, dude, there was like full days where I didn't put music on in the van. I just literally sat in silence, just driving the speed limit, just going across like the plains. And I'm just like, it was my wind down time. But, I needed it. But yeah, it's just.
I like that. Like, that's why I've enjoyed taking more solo trips lately. Right. Is because
solo trips are honestly underrated as fuck. I love solo trips because there's no one's like, hey, we got to make it here by this time. You know what I mean?
I feel like they're vision quests.
I feel like that's you. Like it's always like, all right, we're gonna leave like absolutely last second, and then we're gonna blast all the way there, and then we're not gonna sleep, and then we're gonna like that, and then we're gonna come home the next day, and I'm like, dog.
It's typically how it works, because typically if I go to an event, it's like last minute as fuck, and it's like, oh crap, like trying to get as much done as I can before I run out the door, and then
I feel like this year, because I always enjoy this, and then it was like the other Smokies trip that you're talking about. That one, it was like Dream Rides John just had and I just went on Airbnb. I got like a decent little house that was like slept 10 people, and I had a couple little group chats, that I have going on. I'm like, hey, if anybody's down, I was like, we'll just split it, whatever it is. I think it's like $1,000 a weekend. So if we get, all 10 of us, it's $100 a person, have a house. And it ended up just being like, where it's just like 10 people, like try not to make it like a crazy huge event, and it's just like, the mercenary motorcycle guys, who your shirt is, like, they came by and they're like, where are you sleeping tonight? I was like, dude, I got this extra house. Like, I don't know what beds are open yet, but, pass out here, come hang out. Like, and met a bunch of people that way. And I think like Joe Kidd, like he was heading out there. Well, he was heading out there. I'm like, dude, I got this house. Like, it's not a big deal. I was like,
he's another one like you that's always at the right place at the right time. We're in fucking Boston. He just rolls up and he just hangs out with us all night at this house, telling us fucking stories that had us rolling our asses off. Yeah. And I think he crashed with us that night. He was supposed to be staying over at Perowitz's house. Okay. He's out there trying to do some hood rat shit with us.
But yeah, I feel like this year, like I'm down to do some smaller, random, maybe even like just solo adventures out. Like, last year.
I've really enjoyed the times me and you've just been out on the road. Like we have a real easy, we ride. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the way we gas and we fucking just mob down the road. It's pretty, like when we came back from Ruidoso that one year, you know what I'm saying?
We had, we did Arkansas to Kyle's, we did that one. That was like our last time we rode together before you went and got your motor and everything. But it was just chilling, a couple 100 miles. It's like not a big deal.
A couple more states me and you knocked off together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did have FOMO being in California on that trip last year, but those podcasts that I got while everybody was doing Daytona really helped out this podcast a lot, and it helped me create relationships with some of those brands that I still have today. Yeah. So it's And I mean, you know, like doing this podcast stuff, you know, every once in a while you get people like, hey, I really like those style podcasts when you sit down with like Fuel Moto. I'm like, cool. I like them too. But guess what? I can't, those podcasts are not always around. They're not always available, right?
Yeah.
So, and guess what? After I've done that first podcast and you hear the Fuel Moto story, guess what the next podcast has to be? We got to party because there's nothing else to talk about. What are we going to talk about? The same story again? Like it's this, that story's done. Like, you know what I mean? So going out and seeking out new people to bring on the podcast is kind of what I like to use the trips for. And then doing this stuff here is about having the guys that have helped build this podcast, like you and Mark, be here, talk about, catch up, see how things are going. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, just I don't know. It's like getting some of the legendaries, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You know, like the Yaffe and like Burt Baker and everything. Like those would always be cool. Like, you know, recap podcasts because they come up with more.
Yeah.
You know, or there's always more stories.
yeah, there's definitely more stories
you know,
with some of those guys.
But always hearing like the first, you know, like
Yeah.
how everything came about, like with Burt, like hearing how he is building transmissions in his basement, you know, and then they're basically like getting patents, and then somebody else came out with one before him, you know, and then they're like, oh, this is all over, and then theirs ended up being junk, and, you know, Baker's ended up being good, so that like really helped him out, you know, with like, you know, being in the Custom Chrome magazine.
So there,
memory, but
so the other thing that takes place a lot of times where it takes, so the other thing that's hard is like, when you start reaching out to some of these older brands, these more established gentlemen or women or whatever the fuck, there becomes this whole process of trying to convince them it's worth their time to do this podcast. Right. It takes a lot of fucking time, a lot of emails or phone calls or, hey man, I'm going to be around if you'd love to do this thing with you. It sometimes gets to a point where it's like, man, I'm sitting here trying to fucking share your story,
right?
You know, and
like, you gotta help me out with this.
Yeah,
it's like when we were talking about the House of Harley shit with them. It's like how it took a dealership in Wisconsin to work with you that has since been killing it.
Yeah,
with bike sales and everything else. When how many dealerships are in the DFW area?
Exactly,
and none of them took that opportunity.
I still don't.
No.
They'll ask myself or Matt to help them with their bike nights. But then when we do show up to their bike night, they have a stereo competition for their performance bike night. And then all the big wheel shops in town.
The performance one that we did, all the bikes were at the back of the parking lot, not up by the dealership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, it goes back to this whole, like we were talking about with these new bikes coming out, that I guess this is probably a really poor feeling to have, you know what I mean? But it's kind of like when you discover that band before everybody else does, and then that band gets popular. Yeah. And you're kind of like, I knew about them first. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that feeling, but I definitely have that feeling now as not the people who listen to this podcast, the people that love all this shit, fuck yeah, we're all on the same page. But when you start seeing all the dudes that clown this shit, when you see people that, I sat down with brands to do this podcast that after the podcast, they were like, hey man, so this performance thing, you think it's the next thing? You think it's going somewhere? And then for a year later, those guys to be self-proclaimed the kings of the performance movement or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, fuck that dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What? You see all these guys that are kind of like late adopters, right?
Yeah, they're called
cultures. They are, in a sense, and I'm still okay with them coming into it because
again, it's okay. Rising tide, all ships.
Yeah, I'm good with them. They're coming along. They're accepting this new trend or style or whatever you want to say.
Filling voids that you don't want to fill, too.
Exactly.
You know,
but I also feel like that one part whenever that some of those guys are gonna be the narrative that brings people into the fold that are completely against everything that we've all built as a narrative about riding these bikes and smashing miles and having good times and all this stuff, right? Yeah. Next thing you know, Daytona becomes the same Daytona it's always been with a bunch of trailers going to Daytona.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's what worries me, that like when people lose sight of why these bikes are fun to ride and they just put the money in them and then trailer them and show them off and then put them back in the trailer and then take them to the next event.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's becoming way too popular. I mean, luckily you've got guys like Ben from Australia that have
like one of the nicest
bikes you've ever seen in your life, and the dude just beats the fucking shit out of it everywhere. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna ride it from Arizona to fucking Florida in the middle of the summer on this turbo fucking bike and just get it super fucked up. And you know, like that. Those are the types of guys that the industry and people need to like get behind and promote, because he's got a nice bike. He's got a lot of money into it, but he's also not afraid to go ride it and put miles on it and have fun on it and enjoy it. And he's also the first guy, if he knows you, hey, you like it? Go ride it. He's not no other dick touches my seat except mine.
What I've always liked about this is that what you do on your bike outweighs what your bike has on it.
100%.
You know what I mean? That's why I've always liked this. That's why we've tried to cultivate whatever influence we have on it. It's always been about what you're doing on your bike. This makes you cool or uncool.
The problem, like last year did seem like it went a little bit more towards the party. Instead of what are you doing on your bike? It was a little more about let's party, let's fucking rage, let's do whatever, instead of, hey, like, what did you do? You know, like,
oh, do you want to wake up early tomorrow and go rip the canyons before everybody else does? Like, you know, like those type of things.
Yeah.
You know, but like these bikes that we have, it's not always the destination, like being there. You know, half the time, you know, like we were just talking about, like me and you ripping halfway across the country. Like those are moments that you don't get with anything. And you could do it on any bike.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care. But then it's like, my big thing is like when we get to the Smokies and we have these fun twisty roads, and then it's like going to smash on the bikes like in the corners and still enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then, you know, taking this same bike and I go ride, you know, 500, 600 miles the next day, you know, back somewhere, and I like get off it and I'm like, I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't get off the thing and I'm like, fuck that thing. I ain't touching that for another 6 months. Like I still like it. I'm like, that's
like
what
when you get home from a trip and you're already jonesing for the next one, that's when the shit's fucking on fire in your heart.
When you get home
know
from a couple 1,000-mile trip and you're like, I'm gonna ride my bike to work tomorrow because you still like the thing. You know what I mean? Like that's what we're building with this, you know, and like that's what I always try to do is like trying to have a well-versed bike. Like some people, they always go to me, they're like, well, if you want to do it, why don't you just get a sport bike? I'm like, all right, cool. Take your sport bike, go ride 1,000 miles with me, you know, and then we'll see how you feel. I'll ride it right next to you. I'll go whatever speed you want to hold it at 120 this whole trip, I'll do it. You know, I'll probably, you know, I've done it a lot of times, but you know what I mean? Like if you can get there and you can, you know, do it, it's like, this is for the size dude that I am, because that's what like got me into baggers and not just the FXRs and Dynas. Being 6'4", 300 pounds, like my buddy had an FXR that was all built up and he was kind of doing the performance thing, but I just fit on a bagger better. Like I'd sit on his bike and I'd fit on it, but it wasn't like, you know, I felt huge on it. So then it was like, when I did it, I was like, I'll do it on a bagger, you know? So then it was like, after I bought my bagger, this podcast kind of came out and my buddy like told me about it, because you said something about Olin suspension, which I already had it on order. Because like, you know, it's like taking these bikes and then I was like, we're making them ride better, lift them up, you know, and it made the trips more enjoyable. Like when I bought my 2018 Road Glide, it was because I wanted to do longer trips. Yeah. And then it just transformed into like a little bit more.
Yeah, like I said, I think you came to the very first camp out, right?
Yep.
And then that's when I finally got to meet you. And then the first camp out was in September, and then that December you flew down, and that's when we did the first New Year New Us podcast. The reason I didn't do an anniversary party this year was because of
you got a million things going on.
We got so much going on, and then that puts me in. I'm about to be done with my second bagger in 1 month. I haven't done that in years. Yeah, painted that much, and so there's no way I would have been able to do that, because I would have started having to stage the shop and the house for everybody coming over on Wednesday for people that are getting there Friday.
Well, that's the thing. No one sees that 1 day event is a week of your life. Yeah. Because like you said, you've got people coming in from out of town, coming in Wednesday, Thursday. Hey man, I'm going to get there a couple days early. Like, let's go have some drinks. Let's go. I'll hang out I'll help you at the shop. And they're like, nothing ever gets done.
Next thing you know, it's noon and you're like, let's go to Chili's. Oh yeah, we'll have a couple tall beers. And you're like, well, what I was just trying to get done by 5 p.m.
That's what I was hoping we were going to drink, because I still have to work after this podcast. But yeah, it's a lot. But I mean, I'm missing out on Daytona, and I'm hoping that, like I was saying earlier about the changes I want to make after I get caught up, I'm hoping that I can better manage my time between the traveling, the podcast, and the paint work, so that next year I won't be in such a bad place going into the potential Daytona and things like that.
Yeah, because you got to enjoy your trips too. You know, you can have your short trips and you can blast out and whatever. Sometimes, like, you know, you have your trips where, you know, you're just like, you know, fuck everybody. I'm just gonna roll solo. You know, like I'm gonna go. I just need like throw a couple 100 miles on. I don't need to see if you need to be next to me. Like, and sometimes you feel like an ass doing that to some people, but some of those are my best resets. You know.
Yeah, the hard part is like when we first started doing all this podcast shit and talking and like even when I met you, Mark, like I remember. We've said the story a million times, but this is a prime example how different it is now. When I met Mark, we were both riding to Dixon Flannel Party in Phoenix, right? There was a page on Facebook called Texas Dynas. Mm-hmm. He made a post on there, or I made a post, one or the other, about is anybody going to the Dixon Flannel Party? And mind you, we're from Texas. It's all the way in Phoenix. And I kind of like use that as a reason to build my blue Dyna that I had, right? Now, but where I am, I guess the growth that I've had in my brand and we can't do that anymore. There would have been 20 fucking dudes trying to ride with us there. If we said we're going to Phoenix in 2 weeks and everybody would be trying to go. And I'm stoked for that. Yeah. I like that. But that means
we can't do everything.
Yeah, that means that now we don't get that experience like we did at one point in time.
Yeah, that will like that trip that we took would not have been the same if either of us brought more than a couple guys.
Yeah.
You know, if there had been 10 or 15, it would have 100% changed the tone and the aspect of everything that we did.
It's crazy because I have so many memories from that trip and wild ones. And it's like I just feel like there's no social media that we were doing. It was just like living
I was
in the
not
moment.
doing any I don't think I had social media except for Facebook at that point, or like I had just deleted an Instagram or something, and I just was like, fuck this. Like I want to ride motorcycles back to Phoenix, you know. And
I met up with this dude in Las Cruces. We had margaritas and hopped back on the highway, and these dudes were like, fuck it, we're going all the way to Phoenix. I'm like, I'm stopping in Benson and getting a hotel.
Yeah, it's like with the YouTube shit. Like, fucking sometimes people go like, oh, why aren't you recording while you're doing this? It's like, sometimes I'm just living in the moment. You know, I don't want to like sit here and act like I'm fake and like go and like interview people. It's like, sometimes I'm like, I just want to be here and fuck the cameras.
Dude, that's almost how I tell how good of a time I had. If I have no photos from the weekend, then that means I had a great time.
You always have. I always have at least a couple funny.
See,
videos.
there's people that are good at still having a good time.
Yeah.
But I suck at social media. The only reason I have any social media is because of you. You know what I mean? It's the only reason people follow me because I post once every 6 months. You know, like I don't do shit for social media. So like I never think to like pull my phone out and like I ran out of gas on the way here. Did I get a picture of me on the side of the road or the fucking dude that helped me? Anything? No, of course not. Because I fucking was having a great time talking to this old man that like helped settle Austin. You know what I mean? Like it's fucking. I'd have such a bad fucking time or a hard time remembering to take a photo or a video or something like that.
I mean, I can understand why Steve probably doesn't want to do the YouTube thing with a lot of people around. I would have that anxiety too, trying to do that. You know what I mean? Like,
I have anxiety watching him do it. Like, it's fucking
it's
hard.
like I like doing the YouTube stuff when I was like just building stuff in the shop. You know, like
that's what I'm saying. Like I would like to.
I set a camera down. It's not like, when I go do a trip, I'm in a car where it's like the camera's, sitting on a passenger seat. I can have the windows up. I can talk to you while I'm going down the road. You're doing it on a motorcycle. Like I tried the helmet mic thing, and on my 2018, I couldn't get it to figure out where it wouldn't like cut it out. Like the bike's too loud, the wind noise I get on my head. Like it just on the 03, I did it a couple times where it was like tolerable, but on the 2018, it cut out all the time.
Yeah,
so it's like then it's hard, like jumbling a camera to like do it to catch the moment while I'm trying to ride with your buddies, and that I don't know. It's like sometimes I just let me enjoy it.
Sometimes you got to fucking be there.
Yeah.
You don't get to watch it on YouTube.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, there's with that. I mean, I've just been telling everybody that's doing Daytonas, like, look, hopefully I'll see you at the camp out. You know what I mean? Hopefully people still make the effort to do that. Hopefully new people try to do the camp out. It's definitely, I mean, you guys have been to all of them. I
didn't go to the COVID one because that was like right after my kid's birthday, or right before my kid's birthday.
It's it's definitely been a progression of growth every year. You know what
Dude,
I mean?
I was blown. Like I went into this last one with like the wrong mindset, 100%. Because like I missed 3, and I was still expecting the same vibes as like 1 and 2, where it's just like a bunch of close friends partying
Around one fire.
Exactly. And there was so many fucking people there that like my fucking like I'm not a people person. I don't like being in large crowds. I don't like fucking a lot of people. And my anxiety went through the
You don't like fucking a lot of people?
I like fucking. Let me rephrase this. There's a lot of people that I like to fuck. I don't like being around a lot of people. But no, like my anxiety went through the fucking roof while we were there, and I ended up sitting in Monty's truck like 99% of the time, just because like that was like the little section that we had that no one else was there and no one's talking, and I'm not used to getting the same like level of
fanboy.
Yeah, notoriety that you guys get. You know what I mean? Like I see y'all and I hang out with Steve all the time. Like we'll be at a random bar and some dude's like, "Oh, you're Steve from, S. Chamberlin 5150 YouTube." Like I'm not used to that. I don't like that. I don't like being in the limelight at all. And so it was just like people are walking up and they know my name, and it like fucking threw my head for a loop. Like it fucked my head up bad.
Well, that's what's different about it, and not to discourage people, because it's still a great opportunity for people to meet people.
No, and here
things like
like
that.
it was just a me thing. Everyone else had a great time, and like this year I'll be prepared for that mentally going into it. But like again, like if you think you're going over to your buddy's house and it's going to be a couple of dudes there, a couple of your boys there, and then all of a sudden there's 500 people at your buddy's house, you're like, this is not what I was prepared for. You know what I mean? And that's basically what happened. Is like I thought it was going to be a couple of close homies all hanging out, and then there's a shit ton of fucking people with RVs and fucking trailers and all this shit, and people you never fucking seen or heard of in my life. Like, it just wasn't what I was ready for.
It was definitely the growth has happened with that. It's how do you say it? I think that every year it's definitely going to be different, but that's why you should soak up in everything that there is, because it's never going to be the same.
And that was my thing. It's like I went into it with the wrong mindset. I went into it wanting it to be what it was the first 2 years, because the first 2 years were very similar, just on different scales. The first year was like obviously very small. The second year was a little bit bigger, but still very like intimate as far as like everything going on. And I went into it wanting it to be that, and it wasn't. And I've got to just accept it for what it is, let it be whatever it is, and fucking have fun and roll with the punches.
Yeah, second year is when you brought peaches and stuff down there.
Yeah.
That was a good year. That was a fun year, man. Second one was trying to think. Second year was peaches came down. That's when I met my machinist. That's right.
Yeah. I met my machinist because I remember. Because I met him on Instagram just through, like, I think his gauge relocation. Because, like, my roommate did the same kind of thing out of, like, steel in his bike. And I was like, oh, you're in Arkansas? I was like, this could be, something you like. We're doing these camping trip. And he's like, yep, I'm all about it. And then freaking.
Now he's too fucking bougie to sleep in a tent. But, like, all that stuff is taking place, and it's been growing. And I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how long it goes on. And it's like everything, like, I try to tell people, don't act like next year. If you want to experience something, you need to do it. You know what I'm saying? If you keep waiting until the next year and the next year, I'll try it, or things will be better suited for me next year, then it might not be there. You know what I'm saying?
It might not be the same experience.
Yeah.
It's like, if you want to do something, just go out and fucking do it.
The good thing about it.
Think about it. I live with this motherfucker now. I met him at your first camp out.
Yeah.
He rode down, and we now live together in Texas. So, like, without your camp out, I wouldn't have a roommate right now. You know
trust me,
I
I can trace so many people's lives changed because they met me. But I'm not allowed to
see
say
how
this.
shitty my fucking bike was before I met you?
Yeah. Jetty got a girlfriend because of my camp out.
Yeah, it's true.
That's going real well, it seems to be.
Hopefully.
So if they get married, I'll be like, their present's gonna be a fucking "you're welcome."
Just a "you're welcome."
This is when you make the sticker that Biden. I did this.
But I think that people can still go to a camp out and make friends, right? It might be harder to sit around a fire with certain people because it's gotten so big. But there was still a night we were all ripping around the fire. Fucking, I was doing a bong, or what's the other one? Beer bong.
Beer bong.
Yeah.
And I was doing a bong. I was doing a beer bong, and Adam Sandoval was down there. You were down there plenty of times. It's still a good opportunity to meet people, do things, and ride.
No, yeah,
right?
it is.
And it's just getting to be more.
It's like the
More
whole,
known people are starting to show up.
yeah, the whole camp out came about when you and a couple buddies just were like, hey, because you were like, I like camping, and we're just going to go to this campground. We're going to see what the hell happens, and then you did it like the week before, a couple weeks before to check the place out, then went back and then, kind of promoted it yourself. But, sometimes people need to go out and have these events and, it might only be you and 5 of your close buddies or, 3 of your close buddies and 2 randoms that, show up. But sometimes like that turns into the funnest times to me. It doesn't need to be 150 people at an event for me to be like, that was the best event of the year.
Exactly. And what I try to tell people about what they can experience from this is when you and your buddies are linking up to plan your trip. And when you're having your trip, when you leave and you meet your homie at that first gas stop, like that journey from there to here doesn't have to be a linear straight line. It could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you can actually turn the camp out, can be the reason for traveling, right? For jumping on the bike and trying it. And I get a lot of people all the time that hit me up about like, I just don't know if I want to ride there. We might just trailer in. I'm like, cool. Now, you look like an able-bodied person. I guarantee you, if you try to make it a bike trip, it's gonna suck. My back hurts. My ass hurts off when I take trips.
Everybody's does, yeah.
But
It's not the destination all the time.
I
know it's like a thing that people say it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. But dude, some of those times when you're rolling, down the highway and you're getting poured on and you look over at your buddy and he's getting poured on next to you and you're like, this sucks. I want to get off this road. I hate my life, whatever. Then 2 weeks later, you're like, dude, that was pretty crazy. He's like, yeah.
You know what it is? It's like a mini version of the FXR scene.
Yeah.
So that's why I think the FXR scene's so fucking great, because everyone that owns one has either had to pay a shit ton of money to have it fucking fixed or fixed a million fucking things on them.
Yeah.
They had to earn it.
Yeah.
And riding to an event is like a little mini FXR scene. When you all rode there and you're like, dude, did you come from the east? Oh my God, did you hit that fucking shitty storm on fucking whatever? Like, it's a little bonding moment, even though maybe even you didn't do it at the same exact time with that person, but it's a little bond that you create, like, which can lead to
on the way to Sturgis, when we all like had to pull over on the side of the highway because like chances whatever happened, like his throttle stuck, or whatever. But then it's like, freaking coming out with tools, and then it's like random spot on the side of the highway. It's just part of the journey. Probably wouldn't have happened in a trailer, but then somebody slapped a sticker up on a road sign, and then Ben, I think comes through that same area, found that same road sign, and stopped on the highway to slap his sticker on it. It's like little moments like that can come out of it.
The whole country
I
becomes
remember
a playground.
Like just finding stuff like that. It's the little moments that are.
How was Sturgis Campground this year? We had a fucking gang of motherfuckers over there this year.
Yeah, what, 30, 40 in that area, like at least, and then more other people that were like, there's some other people
that kind of came in later.
Elite Touring Innovations. Like he came down from Canada. Me and him came up with a bet because like COVID still stuff going on in Canada and whatnot. And I was like, all right, I have a $20 bet. I was like, if you can find and take a picture of another Canadian license plate, because I think you're the only Canadian bike here, because he's like, he had a hell of a time getting across the border, but he's like, I'm in the motorcycle industry. Like, this is a, work thing or whatever. So, he's like, he almost got turned around at the border because he's like, I'm going to try to go. Because I get turned around at the border, like all else fails. I had a cool 3-hour ride to the border, and then I'll go back home.
Yeah.
Because like, if it works, it works. If it don't, it don't. But he ended up making it. He partied with us one night, then I didn't see him the rest of the time.
Yeah, I feel like Sturgis was a good trip this time around. There was a lot of good opportunities with the shows going on. Like I said, that was kind of like the turning point with my kind of vibe.
Right.
It was weird, man, because after Sturgis, I really, really wanted to go to California. I wanted a big solo trip, but I had this pending child support case that I didn't know how that was going to land. Me and my son's mom hadn't been together for 10 years, but I've been paying her, right? Taking care of every month, never missed a payment, nothing like that, right? But then when you go into child support thing, it's like all she has to say is, well, he hasn't paid me anything.
Right.
And I'm hoping that my PayPal receipts are fucking like proof that I have paid or something. So I'm thinking like, fuck, I might get screwed and owing thousands of dollars in back pay just because, they're going to take her word over mine kind of situation. So I didn't know how it was going to land. So the entire time in Sturgis, I'm like trying to be a part of this, but I'm also like, my life could be over when I get back. I could have to shut my shop down. I could have to get an actual job somewhere. And, I didn't really know how that was going to land. And fortunately, it didn't end up being bad at all. But it's like someone saying, hey, we need to talk, but first go to Sturgis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, what are we going to talk about?
The second you leave, your wife texts you, when you get back, we need to talk. You're like, fuck.
Yeah, exactly. So it was one of those like really, really like stressful situations where you didn't know how like what life was going to look like after Sturgis. And so I really wanted to rip to California, but I had to be back home for this on, video phone call with the people that do all that stuff. And turns out I thought it was going to be on a Wednesday, which I thought that I needed to be home by Wednesday. But then when I get home on Wednesday, it was like, hey, we rescheduled you till September 15th. And I'm like, I could have went to California, did all these podcasts, got all this content, and I hurried home for this shit, and I was bummed. And then that's whenever I got home, I couldn't do helmets because of the rubber trim.
Yeah, because you were trying to get me to go to Cali with you,
Yeah.
which I'd have been down because I've never rode in Cali, prior. My first time ever riding in Cali was on the racetrack. in Sonoma. But I was like totally down. But then I had that prior engagement with doing the HPI drag race event. I was like, I already said I'd be there and do that, and which I didn't do too good of a job because like they hired me to be like an MC on the mic, but they already had like a professional dude there. So I'm like, I don't know, it just sounds stupid compared to this guy that knows all the lingo and.
Well, it was, I stuck around too at Sturgis after everybody left because of the Torque magazine deal. Mm-hmm. I was gonna stay just to see if you wanted to do that one deal, but man, I don't know, man. Like Sturgis is like Vegas sometimes. Like you kind of got to get the fuck out of there at some point.
Right.
And I had a fucking great time rolling solo because I went to Salt Lake and I actually ended up meeting up with Ben and having a couple drinks with him at this hotel in Salt Lake. And I was supposed to wake up that next morning and it was like, okay, I'm going to California or I'm going home. And I really wanted to go get pictures of my bike at the Salt Flats. And then I woke up in the morning and looked on Instagram. It was like 4 a.m. because I wanted to get there before the sun came up. And it was like, I guess it was Speed Week at the Salt Flats. So it was like covered in fucking vehicles and bikes and shit. I'm like, I don't want to go to fucking the Salt Flats to get this badass desolate photo of my bike on this flat lake bed when there's a village behind it of racers. It doesn't.
Only if you get like a 300 mile an hour car, like
I was about to say that would be cool, like maybe
streaked.
Yeah, like some land speed car.
The thing is, like the Salt Flats are fucking so epic, right? But then there's this stretch between the Salt Flats and Reno that
terrible.
That is the worst. It's literally the absolute butthole of America. Like I would rather do circles in Kansas than ride through that.
Yeah,
100%.
I stayed in one city in between there because, like, after I left,
what's so bad about it?
It's nothingness.
It's where your tube can blow on you.
The town that you stayed in the middle is where his inner tube on his fucking Dyna popped.
Yeah,
and it's like it was still 200 miles to Reno, and that's when Von Metal jumped on Father's Day in his van and drove 200 miles to pick him up and bring him back to this side of town.
Yeah.
The dude's weird as hell, but he did us a big solid.
Trip.
But no, that's true. It's like 400 miles from Wendover to Reno, and it's like nothing. Like it is mountainous, but it's not like 40 or 10 where you like go up and around mountains. It's just like you're just in a rocky environment for 400 miles straight.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And it's like not a lot of towns going through, not a lot of seeing far. It's I don't know.
Yeah, it's different.
It's different.
Yeah, because I took that way on the way out to Sonoma.
Yep.
Everything coming straight across. So I know I just can't remember the town I stayed in. Fucking
Winnemucca?
No, I thought it had an easier name than that. Google Maps. We'll figure it out.
This is very important.
Yeah.
It's like the middle of fucking
Nevada.
fuck, I'm on in Amarillo.
Elko?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Elko. Yeah, because the next day I ended up. Oh wait, that was the day before. I just stopped through like Tony Tucker's place just on the way. Whatever, didn't even tell him. I just like walk in the shop. I'm like, "Hey, is Tony here?" And then he turns around. He's like, "What the are you doing here?" And I was like, "I just figured I'd come beat up on my competition, for this race."
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I was pretty stoked, man. It was cool watching you do that. Getting the van this past year was a good little score because that's got to be worrisome too to drive that across the country.
Yeah, 1996 van,
Windover, that is.
Yeah, and then 1996 van. I don't know. I picked it up for decently cheap, and then I thought on the way out there that I was gonna have to get a trailer, which I was down to get like a U-Haul trailer, but $25 a day, and I'm like, this could be like a 2-week trip,
Yeah.
And then some local guy, he's like, he had one of those like open trailers, and then finally I'm at the shop like day before I'm ready to leave, and then I was like, I'm going to Tractor Supply, I'm gonna get some ramps or whatever. I was gonna see that. I was like, if I take the windshield off and I take my gauges off, I was like, this might fit in the back of the van or whatever. And then he's like, I'm going to go pick the kid up. And I'm like, I just got back at the ramps. All right. And then, so I do it and I'm trying to get it up in the van, like just to see if it like would clear. And then, so I have the one ramp, the other one next to it. And I get up and I'm like, clears by like 1/4 inch, but I'm already committed. My tire's spinning on the ramp because I'm trying to clutch it up. And then like I make it up in the van and like, good thing my paint's not nice anymore and it's scratched on both sides. Cause I was like, I didn't put the wheel chalk in the van. I was like, I can't back this thing back out like by myself. So I just like put the kickstand down and I just like lean it over. It leans right over on the side of the van. And then I had backing it up enough and I like put the wheel. I was like, all right, now we got to figure out how to strap it on. And I was like, 'cause I'm screwed. Might as well just Uber home if I can't get this thing to strap on or whatever. But having that thing in the back of the van, like, and knowing that it fits, like, it made that trip to Cali like that much less stressful because I was like, the bike's all inside, all my gear, my tires, because like I didn't even want to put like the race tires on until I got out there if it was going to be outside. I didn't want to because like temperatures can change compounds and whatnot. So like I didn't even want to have them get that cold. But then Sonoma like was cold as hell. Like, I don't know. I slept in the van at Sonoma and like it got down to like 34 degrees. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, start the van, have the heat kick, shut it back off, and then I'd get up about 4:30 in the morning, and I'd be like, all right, well, I'm going to go get McDonald's breakfast just so I can drive for freaking 30 minutes and, like, warm back up. I was, like, that cold. So.
Yeah. I remember when I had that white van, I could fit the FXR. I just had to take off the windshield to get the FXR into the – it was like same thing, 1/4 inch just passed by.
Yeah, because like I didn't have mirrors on, my handlebars at all, so I don't know if the mirrors would hit, but it was like when I
mine did too. I'd have to take that mirror off.
Yeah, the windshield and because I have those high mount gauges, and it clears by like 1/4 inch. I'm like,
that's crazy. That's good though. Like being able to not have to drag a trailer around is so much nicer. Yeah. That's the only thing I miss. Like I feel, the Jeep that I have, it's like perfect for what I do, but. Like doing a bike, like going to Daytona would be so much easier. I'm such a hypocrite because it'd be so easy just to throw it in the truck and rip down there one day.
Riding to Daytona, that's one that I feel like from Texas is 100% okay to trailer to because I-10 from Houston to fucking Jacksonville sucks.
Yeah.
It's just long and straight. You go over a cool fucking 30-mile bridge in Louisiana. You get to go through the thing in Mobile and through the fucking tunnel. And then besides that, it's just boring as fuck.
Yeah, they got a Buc-ee's on the way. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I think this year I'm just gonna van the bike because like my little trip that I did on the skinny tire bagger last year, because it was like literally finished it at like 4 and then went home, got on the road by like 5. I was like, whatever fits in the saddlebags is going. I didn't have any thing to put like my bag on the back as far as like so I was planning on trailering out there and bringing both bikes last year, and then. Took off and then I didn't even have a coat. I had my rain gear, so it was like when it finally got cold, like I think I had a sweatshirt and then I put my rain gear over it and it got down to like 37, 38 degrees that night. And I rode 1,150 miles straight through all the way to Daytona. I was so beat after that.
That's wild.
So like this year I'm like, I might just van it.
Yeah, I think I'm probably gonna take the truck because I'm gonna bring the kid. I'm not gonna make the kid ride 1,100 miles on the back of a bike out there. Like, time to suck it up.
So what other things do you think you guys want to do this year? Like, is there anything new that you haven't done that you want to try this year? Like,
as far as riding, I'd love to do, after like going to Sonoma, I'd love to go do like NorCal, like Washington and Oregon, just to check those off, you know, the list. That'd definitely be like a pretty big trip, but, you know, go up, do a little bit more in that area as far as the riding. Because I've been northeast, been southeast, you know, I've hit damn near everything in the middle. Yeah, I don't think I've hit those 2 states in the top corner.
Yeah, I'm lacking Iowa, Minnesota, North Dakota, Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. I plan to do them all this year, though.
Yeah.
And get them all knocked off. If Sturgis, I'm just going to fucking go do North Dakota and just get it over with.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever been in North Dakota on a bike. I've been through it in a car, but not on a bike.
You know, we're planning on doing that hometown rally this year because of the BRL being there and things like that. So I think what we're going to do, I'm still going to go to Sturgis. I still plan to, at least, just business like I did, me and you, when we went that one year. Just go up there, probably camp or do something as cheap as possible just to be there for the days you need to be there and then get out.
Yeah.
But the hometown rally, which is, I think, September 1st or right around there, I think we're going to do as a group, go do like a ride up and go hit the whole loop around the lakes back to Milwaukee. And then like our wives and shit are going to drive up and we'll just get a big ass house in Milwaukee for the rally and the BRL race. And then on the way back, we're going to jump over and go hit western Wisconsin and then drop into Minnesota, Iowa, and home. So all the guys will be able to knock off those Midwest states that are, you know, a lot of them haven't hit Michigan yet. Obviously, you'll be able to hit Indiana, Illinois, Minnesota, all that shit, right? Yeah. And then the rest of us, I mean, we're all doing the Northeast trip or Northwest trip, so pretty much everybody will be able to knock off every state. A lot of the guys got fucked last year because we made a coin flip detour to not go through West Virginia. And it's just like this one state, like out there in the middle of nowhere, that's on the way to nothing. That now everybody missed out. I went through it on the way back from New York that time when I went with you, but everybody else didn't get a chance.
It was last year. I think it was before I hit that deer. I did like a Smokies trip from Michigan.
Yeah.
And then on the way back, I ended up going up through like West Virginia.
Yeah, you talked about it on one of your videos about how badass it was.
Southwest Ohio, like West Virginia would be cool. That'd be like a cool area to do like a camp out if you found like, cause there's a bunch of cool roads. I was just traveling through it and I was like, this is kind of fun, just like the main roads, and there'd be like little towns that are like cut in the side of a mountain type thing. It's like a Walmart and then like a 500-foot cliff behind it.
If everybody up the north and northeast could really pull together and find that one place that is the perfect place for a camp out, that also pick the time of year that worked with the rest of the country,
right?
It'd be so much easier to kind of support another camp out. But I guess it just you quickly run out of time,
right?
You know what I mean?
We can't do everything.
Yeah.
I have people message me like, "Are you going to make it here, or are you going to do that? Or, oh, you're coming to Daytona? All right, well, I'm coming the second weekend. You going to be here?" And I'm like, "All right, well, I have obligations that I said I'd be there the first weekend. Like, I might be there the second weekend. I can't promise that I'll be at every event for every time. So I always leave my schedule very open ended. Because like if I'm down and I feel like being there, I'll be there. If I'm like, I got a ton of work, I should probably just go home. And then I'm fine with that too. So
I like how Justin from Hang 'em High was saying it at the show, the V-Twin show. He was saying like, I'll try.
Right.
If you make it, great. You kept to your word. But if you don't make it, it's like, well, at least you tried.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. So as far as, that, I'd love to do like a big Northwest trip. That'd be cool, know. And then probably going to do the other BRL events. I don't know.
Have they announced anything yet?
They have the Milwaukee one and they have one at Daytona.
When's the Daytona one?
Biketoberfest.
Oh,
so it's like not until like Labor or September and then October. Yeah. There's like nothing in between, so that kind of sucks. It's all right on the wallet because like this dude, that adds up so fast.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like I had a couple.
Well,
like,
I think that
card
this.
sponsors,
I think
but-
this last trip with the success that you did have, I feel like it. I just don't know how to do it. I feel like there's got to be a way that you can pitch getting some sponsorship money to be able to cover the cost of some of this stuff.
Yeah,
from
like,
people.
You know, whatever on this last one, it's like I went out there, I did it, and I came on my little T-shirt, and then you know a ton of people bought that, you know, so that really helped me out with like you know, offsetting some of the costs, you know,
Yeah.
because I did 5,200 mile round trip on, you know, in the van on that, and then on the way home, like I don't know, I just said buy me some gas, and I had some people, you know, throw me $100 and this and that. That dude, I was super appreciative of that because everything I was all out of my own pocket. You know, like I know it's me doing the racing, but it's like, you know, trying to be like the one man show and trying to fund it and everything. So like I really appreciate everybody's support on that. So if some sponsors came along, you know, that'd be cool. Like I haven't really reached out to anybody, you know. Thinking about maybe like Old Spice or something. Like, I don't know how I feel about my bike being red, but no, like you know, I had a couple like parts sponsorships, you know, that I've gotten and everything. Like Curly's, you know, they had that oil line kit on the top. You know, he's like, "Hey, go test it out, beat on it." You know, and
See what it does,
you know, that heads and whatnot. But as far as like getting like a hard cash sponsorship or something like that, like I don't know how to come about that.
Yeah, so, I don't really know the logistics of like what those more or less contracts look like.
Yeah,
'cause, I mean, all the sponsors that I have, it's like, hey man, we like what you're doing. How much to be a sponsor on the podcast? I'm like, this much, and they pay it, and then I fucking take it, and then I spend it on shit, right? But there's a lot on the table still. If I knew how to properly put together a sponsorship packet, and reached out to like I know Montucky would probably do more with us, but I don't like they're a bigger company than just go, hey man, PayPal me some money. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they need to have like, what am I going to do? What are they getting? Blah, blah, blah. How much is this? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I just don't know how to write all that shit out. I'm not.
Yeah, like I have a hard time like making, I guess, like posts on Instagram like feel fake, like they're from a sponsor thing, you know, or like YouTube stuff. That's like, you know, if I believe in a product and that, like, you know, if I like it, you know, I tell people about it, and it's not always what I put on the social media. It'll be like what I tell people behind the scenes, you know, like I talk to hundreds of people a day, you know, it seems like, you know, or hundreds of people a week just about stuff. They're like, hey, you've ran this. What's your opinion on this? So it's like, I don't always like try to make, you know, if I do have a sponsor, don't make it try to seem like, you know.
I feel like the one thing that drives me nuts that people do is that they repost things from, like if I'm sponsored by thundermax, I don't want to repost thundermax's content. I want to make my own content in regards to why I want to run thundermax. And I feel like that's you know, the whole repost culture kind of gets a little bit annoying.
Right.
You know,
like I'll have a couple here and there.
Yeah, I'm not saying
know, or
it's
like
not.
Somebody does something, I'm like, that's sick. I like it. I repost it. But like I'll have people that tag me in some stuff, and I don't always repost it because I don't want like my stories where it's just a repost and a repost and a repost and repost and repost. I'll be like, I want like my stories to be like my content. You know, if there's like a little bit of, you know, stuff that I'm like, I want to put that on my story because that's cool. You know, or you know, I'll do it here and there, but I don't do everything. You know, because it's like half the people, you know.
My story's all reposts. I don't fucking ever make content.
I'm going to say that half the people out there, like, their stuff, unless it's a repost, it's, you know, they don't do nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it I don't know, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, I think that in this, you know, I can't remember what podcast. I think it was one of the Quaint Zone podcasts we did recently where we were talking about, like, the way that the social media culture is starting to trend is towards TikTok stuff, which is all this like super quick, mindless shit, in my opinion. I know it has a place because a lot of people that are doing it, it's doing well for them. But I like a video that was made. I like it when you take time to make a video. You have something to say. You have something to show. I like when someone actually takes the time to take a good photo of something.
Yeah.
This culture of just quick reposts and be the first one to do this.
Well, that was like, I did a contest with Screaming Speed and Fat, and I thought it was a pretty good contest.
Yeah, that was
it
good.
was like, I will give out a set of side covers of $400 cash, but it's going to the people that already have a product of mine. I was like, you already have a t-shirt, you have a sticker that I gave you at a show, you have a set of side covers. I was like, make a cool photo or a video. I was like, because Instagram is a picture and video platform.
yeah.
I was like, I don't want you to tag your friends in it. I don't want you to repost it. I'm like, this is for the people that have already bought something. Like, this is my customer appreciation.
That was
post.
a cool little deal.
And I was just like, do it. And then, people, like, I got like a sick photo with like my side cover where a guy just sprayed like brake clean on it and then started on fire and it's got a fire. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you took, that photo didn't take more than 5 minutes. But you took.
He made your own content.
And he had it at it, and then like Doc, who ended up winning it. He had a really funny video, about the cup holder and everything. And then like, what's his name?
There was a couple really funny ones.
Yeah, there was like one where it was like used as a serving platter. It had ice and like White Claw on it. Like it. Dude, like that type of stuff, I'm like, you had to think more than just, who do I who do I press add at? And then it just pops up the first 3 names and everything. And
Yeah, it was good.
I had another contest when I was first getting started where I was like, tag people in it. I was like, tag people, but I was like, tag people that are interested. I was like, don't just tag your grandma or, something like that. I was like, tag people that might actually be interested. It's just like, I don't know. We all got to help each other out with, this type of shit. It's like you can get it where it's like you have 100,000 followers, but if your engagement and people like if they don't.
Dude, I remember I was at bike night, and I think I was about to hit 50,000 followers, and I literally was thinking I should delete it.
Right.
It was a weird thing going through my head. Not saying that I still won't. I'm just saying I hate that my whole life's accumulation of everything I've ever been successful at, everything that I do that many people can't do. I guess I was more ungrateful for the fact that 50,000 people, and that, like I said, I've been in a very negative place lately. I was like, man, this bitch fucking, what was the chick put farts in a can and sold it for $50,000? You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Right.
I just feel like sometimes it sucks that social media, people aren't following people for the art or the content that they actually make, right? And then there's all these repost pages, which I understand. I'm not trying to talk shit about them. They have a place and they're always going to be here, but it's so quick to get a lot of followers on a repost page because people like to follow pages they feel like they're going to get reposted by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm like, man, I've busted my ass.
Following those pages is mindless too.
Yeah.
You can follow the one page and you get all the content. You don't have to find all the other people.
Oh, who's the original guy that made this content? You know what I mean? So I just felt like, man, I hate, and with Instagram is actually pushing to be more of a video platform now because video keeps people more engaged and on their platform longer. So now picture content is worthless. So now my whole dream of wanting to be a paid photographer for something is kind of out the window now.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no place. The only place that makes sense to get paid to shoot photography is for chicks OnlyFans. Yeah. That's the only place that makes sense, right? But my wife ain't gonna go for that shit.
I'll do it. Anybody wants it, I'll do it. I got you.
I mean, it just gets to that point. I mean, magazines ain't paying nobody for photos. Brands will.
Yeah.
But, it's one of those things where I don't want to bitch about not being a paid photographer because I know Chopsky's killing it out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He figured out a way, but I think maybe it's because he has more time and his style is badass.
Yeah.
It's real fitting for what he does. So I'm trying not to be the negative Nancy, oh, fuck the world. They won't fucking take my photos or that shit. But it does
Well, but
fuck
you're also
with your
trying
head.
to juggle fucking 3 things at once. And so,
Yeah.
if you had all the time in the world to dedicate to doing photos and to take these trips like he's taking when he flies to Las Vegas and all these other places to do the photos, it might be a different story. But you're trying to cram it in between being a custom painter and recording 4 to 5 podcasts a month. You know, it's
that's the realization that I've been trying to accept that I can't be all the things that I want to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I guess it's one of those things that I'm inspired by a lot of my friends and I want to do what they do.
Yeah.
Or, like we were saying about building bikes or doing frame off bikes. It's I've done one before. Maybe not to the level of what Insta Having Kyle's doing it, but because he's doing it now and it's kind of I see him doing it, killing it. I'm like, fuck, I know I can do something like that. I want to try that again. I haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah.
Then it's not fucking feasible, man. Spinning, dude, a frame off bike, every one I've ever done in my life, which I've done a handful of them, when I'm putting it back together, it is like a month and a half of every day back and forth, finding all those final bolts and those washers and those things to really dial in a build, right?
Yeah.
And it's that extra $1,000 to $1,500 of that shit that you never factored into the build, or the fact that now you haven't accomplished any work. Building the studio was that way.
Yeah.
Oh, it's only gonna be $5,000. 12 grand later, 2 months off of work.
Yeah.
You know, like you just like, okay, well,
And especially
if we do this,
now,
it'll be nicer.
now everything's fucking, you can't even get it. So like you need those bolts to finish it. And you're like, I want this to match. And then it's like, oh, they're on back order until June.
Yeah.
Right.
You know.
That was like me trying to put that motor together for fucking BRL.
Yeah.
Just trying to come up with a combo that you can like get the shit and having it there where it's not like, oh shit, we got to stop in our tracks and wait 2 days for, a drag order. Like,
Yeah.
I literally sat there and I'm like, all right, I need this, I need this, I need this. Going over with him and just like flipping through a book and just trying to be prepared as much as I could for like that build. And
Yeah,
it went off
before
pretty
like
good.
with the motor went together super fucking quick, but that's because he spent like a week literally before it looking up every part he wanted and like, okay, well this is out of stock here, so maybe we can try here, and oh, they don't have that there, so let's go back to the drawing board and find another part that's similar but maybe not the exact same one, and now it's in stock. And like he had spent literally like 7 days just planning it out so that way when it came time to actually put it together, it was super fucking smooth.
Like
But
calling up
that's-
a dealership in Iowa to get front motor mounts because they're back ordered. They had them in there, and then driving up to Temple to like go get the rear swing arm mounts because they're back ordered, but they had them in stock, but they wouldn't ship them to me because my billing zip code wasn't the shipping zip code and whatever. So like I'd go and just stupid shit like that. But
well, those are the things too that like people.
I love that shit. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you get in a build like trying to be it where it's just like, all right, oh, you didn't make no progress, and then it's just like boom, 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 boom.
Well, I think for a lot of people, that's the part of the build that they don't know how to bill for,
Right.
Because that is working on a build. Like that is literally like some of the most time-consuming things. And because like if you're a mechanic, then you think I only get paid to spin these wrenches, right? Well, that 4 hours you spent in the beginning of the day searching for those parts, like you have to. A successful business would charge that. If you went to Gas Monkey Garage and had a car built and they spent that time doing it, they would bill you for that time. I don't know if it looks like the same as a mechanical hour, but it's definitely in that process. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and that's like one thing that some people don't understand with having somebody else do it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's all that extra time. You might see it like on a bill or whatnot, and whatever the price is for it, but just stopping to order parts, stopping to make up a bill, stopping to get a quote. All right, so you want a motor build? Like I've watched like Mark do this. Like you want a motor build, and him coming up with like 3 different combos. Like this one's going to be this amount. This one's a little bit more, but you have these extra parts. Then this one's a little different direction, but then you have this. Like wasting, I don't know, 3 hours because you want an itemized thing, instead of me being like, hey, this one's $5,000, this one's $7,500, this one's $10,000. Like, what one do you want to go? Or, oh, you want to know exactly everything? All right, this one's $5,230. This one's $7,700. And like all that stuff adds up. You know, just trying to be productive on that aspect.
It's crazy. I started monitoring my time in the shop. Like I have an app now that I clock in every morning when I get there to a job. And I have like stupid jobs like organizing and cleaning, parts ordering, billing, accounting, just like dumb things, errands, obviously shop time, like working on the bike and engine builds, and like I can track different jobs. I spend a decent amount of my fucking time on the phone with customers and doing billing and building quotes. It's ridiculous. And so like I've had to like change up how I do things. The other thing it taught me too is like the hours that I build at a dealership. Like if a job took an hour and a half and I got paid for it an hour and a half at the dealership. Well, that job took an hour and a half at the dealership because there were 4 other people involved. Someone was checking the bike in. Someone was answering the phone. Someone was pulling the part. Someone was loading the bike while I was out on my previous test ride. And so when I actually track my time into doing this hour and a half job, I have 2.5 hours into it now, 3 hours into it, sometimes. And so like I've been like monitoring that, and I just tell people like, here's a rough quote, but here's what I do. I track the entire time I'm working on your bike. I still don't charge for like phone calls and shit like that, but like I'm tracking the time that I'm working on your bike. I can give you rough quotes. If you want like specific quotes, I have a different labor rate, but I'm charging you for that time because that's me sitting there building you a quote. That is my time. You're buying my time. If you don't want to trust my numbers or budget's tight and you're trying to get as much as you can out of budget, that's fine. I understand that. But you're also using my time. And that's what I sell. I sell my time. And so if you want that, you got to pay for it.
That's a good point. 100, like I said, I keep track of like physical time, you know, working on a bike.
Yeah.
Or like painting, like from, all right, that took 2 hours to base coat it. It took, you know, I sanded this whole bike down in, you know, 6 hours, things like that. And then I don't bill it, but I also keep track of my time doing like the graphics, the pinstriping, the whatever I'm doing, right? Just to give myself an understanding of, because sometimes I look at a paint job and I'm like, man, like this thing took a long time. And I'm, you know, does it look like it's worth $10,000? You know what I mean? Like I'm asking myself that. Like, I'm like, well, fuck, just because that's not as flamboyant as this other thing doesn't mean it wasn't a time-consuming process to make it look that way.
Dude, I've been struggling with that when I look at these jobs. Like, I'll finish a job, and I'm like, man, I feel like that's... Like, if you walked in and said, how long does this take? I'm like, well, that's more. And then I stop, and I, like, start to go back, and I think... And I'm like, oh, yeah, but, like, there was this thing that was fucked up that I you know, went ahead and we looked at that, and there was all these other things, and the guy had already started half the job, and I was dealing with trying to put things back together that we didn't take apart and fixing issues that we didn't know existed until, you know, and like all sorts of other things. And, you know, I finally I came to the realization, listen, fuck it. This is what it is. If you don't fucking like it, there's plenty of other shops you can take it to. You know what I mean?
Well, I like what Jeremy posted the other day because I don't get this anymore, but I used to get it all the time. Is like people that would like show me pictures of Jeremy's bikes and go, I want this paint job. How much? And I'm like, well, did you ask Jeremy? Or they'll Valley Customs or Schultz Designs or all these other people. And I've said it many, many times in this podcast that I'd usually just respond to them with like the phone number to the painter that they showed me they liked. But he's getting it too. And I've gotten so many people that's asked about doing Daytona paint jobs right now. Like,
hey, can you get it done by then? No, I can't.
Hey, I'm building a bagger for Daytona. I'm like, now? Like, I'm doing the bikes that were deposited and scheduled back in September and in August, right? So, like, not that it took me that long to do the job, but that's when you got to, you know, to get in with professional people, it's, if I don't have any work going on right now, that says something about my business and my abilities, right? If you're not busy right now and you're a painter, why? What happened? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, I had it the other day with a guy about a set of side covers. You know, he messaged me. He's like, well, yours are this price. And then, you know, competitor, you know, he's cheaper and his lead time, you know, is this. And he's like, what's the difference? I was like, just, you know, it might sound a little cocky, but I was like, my fit and finish, you know, looks way better in my opinion, you know, and I have this many orders ahead of you. So that's why I have, you know, that amount of lead time. And then dude's like, all right, you know, and then 2 days later messaged me again. And he's like, hey, I just purchased them. I'm like, all right, cool. You know, like, I'm not here to bullshit you. I'm not going to be like, well, I can match his lead time because I can't. You know, I've been trying my hardest to catch up lately, you know, since everything, but I'm still, you know,
I feel like there's a, like, especially like to buy your side covers is because I want to support you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I want the product, which is a great product. You know what I mean? I've painted a couple sets of them, but it's like, I think that's the thing that's kind of scary about this growth of this scene now is that we're getting a lot of people that have not been in it, that are, you know, going through the motions of figuring out what parts they want to, and they don't look at you as like the guy that's ripping across the country, smashing White Claws and fucking racing bikes and all that. They just like, you're a product that is on the list of other products that people have. And so
I feel like that has added to the success of it is just, people know that I'm the guy that builds them. You know, I've had help in the past, but now it's like I just do everything. I'm the guy that builds them, sands them, packages them, ships them. You know, like I'm the guy. I do all the steps, and like I got other people that are like, well, you could have somebody else weld them and do that, and you know, I could turn up production. But I'm like, this is
Dude,
this is my money that comes in. It's like eventually you're gonna get to a point like you talked with like Ness before, you know, where Ness used to be like super crazy huge, and didn't they dial everything kind of back a little bit?
Yeah.
And it's like you got to find your enjoyable spot. Like we all can build these empires, you know, if we just want to take on enough people. But then it's like the amount of mistakes that come out and doing that. Like I like to know that, you know, with all the products I send out, like I don't really have anybody that comes and complains, you know, back to me or anything. Like,
well, the same thing happens with me when people say, well, why don't you hire some people to help out with the helmets? I'm like, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
It takes me 10 minutes to sand a helmet down.
Yeah.
So I can sand, I can sand down 6 or 7 helmets, like say a month's worth of helmet projects before lunch.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And flake them out before lunch. So
It's
if
like,
I hire somebody, what are they going to do to help me out with that process? Because the problem with hiring other artists, like here's the deal. If Poland lived down here and Poland wasn't busy, which obviously that's not the case, or if Lucky Strike lived down here, then he could be like, hey man, I can come in at night and stripe all these helmets for you. Fuck yeah. He's way better pinstriper than I am. Right. That's helpful. I don't have anybody like that here in Dallas.
Right.
Right. There's no other people that can paint on my level that is available to come and help me out. And if someone's paying the money they pay to get one of my helmets,
you're very stringent.
I have to do it. I can't be like, hey man, I didn't actually do your helmet.
Right.
That one because it wasn't that complicated. No, like that's not what I'm selling. I'm selling my art.
Yeah.
And if you're buying my art, then that's the way you get it. If you want to buy my art that looks like my art, or you want to buy art that looks like mine, there's a lot of other painters that are copying my shit to the T that are probably not busy right now. Because the other thing that I've been wanting to try to talk to people about is when it comes to paint. I know you guys aren't painters, but the other thing that makes my work different than everybody else's, and the same reason why their work is different than mine, is my style, my designs. My designs are as important as the execution. You know what I mean? There are people out there that have copied my shit to the T. And I'm like, wow. Like, that looks really good. It blows my mind that you're that skilled, but you're uncreative.
Right.
So the creativity is the other thing that people are paying for when they come to me. The fact that I have it. The fact that I can take and make something that is 100% uncopied of anybody else's and put it out there.
I can give you 2 colors or 3 colors that I want. You're like, hey, can you come up with some cool flow with it? You know, we're going to have these body parts. It's a road glide or, you know, like, what can you come up with? And you're just like...
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while at 2 a.m., I post a picture of me at my table at my house drawing, and there's 14 other sketches that finalize this one sketch. You know what I mean? There's a lot of work that goes into it, to designing stuff, and that's where the bottleneck is. The bottleneck's not necessarily the time doing it. It's taking that helmet that I have painted almost 200 times now and redesigning a paint job that is similar to my style because that's what people want, but also they want a unique one-off of it.
Yeah.
So I've had to read it. Like, I envy those dudes at Harley. Like FXR Mike made the meme yesterday about
not copy the homework.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I don't feel like Harley looked at my work at all. It doesn't really look like my style or anything like that. But to be a person that gets to design one thing and get royalties on it, or just get a fat paycheck one time, dude, I'd love that. Right. If I only had to paint one helmet and then Simpson said, all right, we're going to mass produce this, here's a $10,000 check, I'd be like, hell yeah.
Yep.
Hell yeah. But no, I have to do 5 of those helmets to get to 10 grand. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot different, you know, as opposed to even doing a road glide, like doing these baggers I've been doing. They are obviously a lot more work than doing a helmet, but it's one design. Mm-hmm. As opposed to the same amount of helmets could take, like, to do one bagger, which is usually about 15 to 20 parts, to do that one bagger usually can take about 2 solid work weeks, right? Well, the helmets, to do that same amount of like what I could make doing helmets, could take longer because of how much design work has to go in each helmet to make it different. 5 different helmets, 5 different designs, colorways, it just gets kind of difficult. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying to restructure and learn how to better intake the popularity of my work and the available time that I have because of my hands in the other areas that I have. So
It's a hard thing to figure out too.
Yeah.
Because like you said, like
I'm not used to saying no.
If somebody wanted something, like let's say, you're like, hey, I've got whatever, 10 grand for a bagger paint job, or I've got, $2,500 for a helmet.
Yeah.
And then I find out like technically you didn't paint it. You know what I mean? Like it would be kind of disheartening.
This is what drives me nuts. Okay, so we all heard about this was a couple weeks ago with the exhaust guy we all know, right?
Yeah.
Really badass exhaust system, handmade, and they're not cheap. They're like $1,600 exhaust systems, right? Like $1,500-$1,600, right? Knowing this guy and knowing that he can produce 2 to 3 of these a day with an 8-hour workday. Because he's got jigs, right? Bam, 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 bam. This pipe here, weld, bam, out the door, right? Maybe a little bit longer for quality control, checking, things like that. But realistically, if the problem is that I feel like some people get to the point where they don't want to work, right? And if I can go to work every day and all I have to do is do the execution, not create it, like just every day, same helmet, same helmet,
I was
same
about to
helmet,
say,
same
exactly.
helmet.
That's exactly like if you were doing production
Yeah.
helmets. You spend a bunch of time at the beginning designing, creating your jigs, creating your templates. You know what I mean? If you're painting a helmet, creating all your cutouts and making them computer cutouts so you don't ever have to do it again, and just be able to pull it. You've got your things that you line up, boom, you can walk in and spray them. You could knock out 2 helmets, 3 helmets a day too. If you never had to design another one. But that's the problem.
That's why I was banging out so many flame ones earlier this year or last year, because I don't have to design that. I just,
what colors do you want? And
pinstripe. Okay,
pinstripe
cool.
or no pinstripe. Done.
So other than that, I mean, like I said, it's very different, and I think that to the point of like the side covers, it's like you are proven like you can knock out X amount of sets a day, and you do it. You are putting in time.
Right.
It's just different when someone's like they have this thing that everybody wants and everybody's on back order, but they just don't want to go in the garage and fucking light the torch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's what drives me nuts.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because those brands always get the opportunities from the bigger corporations. That,
Yeah, of course they do.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
And you're like, okay, we're the hard workers that.
Yeah.
We came up with the ideas, the designs. All right, you ripped it off, made it cheaper. Cool.
Anyway, well, you guys got anything else or what? We ready for lunch?
I got a bike for sale. Anybody
Oh
wants to buy
yeah,
it?
you want to buy that?
Anybody wants to
lowrider?
buy a Softail? Give me a buzz.
I'm
let me know.
I'm getting me one of these STs.
I don't know if I want an ST or if I want to
did-
pick up an older Road Glide. I don't know.
I fucking love
Honestly,
that bike.
like I kind of just want to sell that thing and just let the money sit for a minute and figure out what's coming out in 23. You know what I mean? And get the FXR back together.
I'm gonna
get the
finish.
Road Glide
I'm gonna
back
finish
together.
the T Sport and spend the rest of this year rocking that because I've always wanted one.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really enjoying riding it. But at the end of the year, I'm going to sell the T Sport, and depending on what I can get that new lowrider for, and depending on what I can get for my T Sport, I want to try to buy one of the new lowriders.
I like
it.
I like them. I like the way they look. I like the style. You know what I mean? They look.
I think it look good.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna get out of motorcycles, pick up like boats or something.
Okay.
Okay, nerd.
No, I kind of want to get like I missed the 03. The 03 Road Glide was a fun bike. I kind of wanted to get like a skinny bagger. I've been on the eye for one, but I just
Haven't found
I don't
one.
want to like pay a premium. I'm like if when like a deal comes out and it's like somebody has one, because I'm gonna cut it up. Like it was a slight wreck and the fairing's cracked. And, the price is right. Then those are the ones I consider. But I don't need to start with a $8,000 to $10,000 one. Like
Yeah.
so I don't know. I wouldn't mind
Buy
doing
his.
some of that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pay whatever the hell he wanted. He's like, I got fucking $50,000 in that bike. Like, yeah, motherfucker, you had it for 10 years.
Yeah. It's got multiple
happens.
motors and multiple transmissions. And
Yeah, it's like I was, selling the FXR when I sold it a couple of years ago. It's like, or when I was getting rid of it, it's like, yeah, if I build it again, then I'm now going to have $40,000 in this bike, but I'll never be able to get the original 20 I put into it. So,
Yeah, that was like the other day I just wanted to like buy something, but I'm like, dude, I can't buy nothing for my bike. I'm like, I just spent a bunch of money on it, whatever. So I bought wheels for my van. Like I just had them put on yesterday,
Nice,
but I was
yeah.
like, I just
It
had
looks
to buy-
good.
I was like, I
Changes
just had to
it.
buy
I've
something.
never had a set of wheels on anything I've ever driven.
I feel like
Aftermarket wheels.
Aftermarket wheels, like motorcycles, trucks.
oh yeah, I love
Nothing.
You still need to sell me those other wheels that
They're
you
sitting
have.
there. I still have those wheels right there in my shop, sitting there, and it's got a dual disc hub now too.
Well, I could use it. But anyway, all right. Thanks for doing this, guys. I really appreciate you guys coming up here and
Yeah.
helping me get another podcast for this month.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
We're all busy.
Four,
yeah,
Yep.
fourth one.
See how
Go
it
listen to the other
changes.
ones and
yeah.
see how
See
much
if we changed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we getting Mexican food. What are we doing?
I got to go pick up my kid.
I'm down. I have my
Yeah, he
van,
can
so
stay. Yeah, we're in
Okay,
separate
so we're going
vehicles,
to
so he can
Maybe we'll
stay.
see. We're party tonight in Dallas.
I got to come back to work. Like I got to clear coat a lot of shit today before, but I will definitely go. I'll buy you some Mexican food.